Chapter 231. The spring breeze in the night gradually became stronger. The fine spring rain fell in the heavenly garden, and the night became darker. At this time, as long as someone had a gem shard on them, they would not dare to walk in the dark because they would definitely become the target of others. Lin Jun climbed onto a tall peony flower and found a sapphire shard in the stamen. Phew! I thought there would be a lot of gem shards in the garden, but I can't recklessly put down the flowers and plants. The speed of searching is not as fast as searching in the grass. Under such circumstances, Lin Jun could not be as reckless as he was in the grass. The speed of searching for gems became slower and slower. In the night, the sound of fighting could be heard from afar. The night rain could not stop the enthusiasm of the war gods to search for gem shards. Battles broke out from time to time. Leaning on the flower petal and looking at the night sky, screams came from afar. Someone died again. The fight is quite lively. He closed his eyes and began to sleep. After an unknown amount of time, he felt someone climb up from the other side of the peony flower. As soon as he opened his eyes, Lin Jun immediately attacked with his overlord spear. The other person was also very alert. The two of them attacked almost at the same time. Lin Jun's overlord spear collided with the other person's long sword. After a crisp sound, they both felt that the other person was difficult to deal with. Then they both took a step back. Lin Jun, the person on the other side, spoke. "You are Doran?" Lin Jun also saw the person opposite him. He had seen him in the poster before. He was the war god Doran from Ice City. Lin Jun was still somewhat vigilant about the Changfeng martial arts school. This Doran was a member of Changfeng and was also a member of the Hall of Fame. Lin Jun had to be careful that the other party might attack him. In particular, Lin Jun's body was rich with gem light. It was possible that he would become the target of others. The gem light on Doran's body was also very strong. When he saw Lin Jun's vigilant actions, he hurriedly waved his hand. "Don't fight. We are all Chinese. There are foreigners everywhere. We should not kill each other." Lin Jun could feel the sincerity in Dolong's tone. He slowly put down the overlord spear and said, "If that's the case, that would be for the best." Lin Jun glanced at Doran's body and asked, "You didn't get a topaz shard either?" Just like him, Doran's body was also glowing with red and blue light. "No, this topaz shard is too hard to find. I have met many people, but none of them have obtained a topaz shard." Dolong sat down. "I think it should be in a more dangerous place," Lin Jun said. "It should be, but it will be dawn soon. If I can't get the yellow gem by summer, then I have to leave. I have to go to the creek in autumn, or I won't be able to get a place to advance." Lin Jun nodded, expressing his agreement with Dolong's words. Doran hesitated for a moment, then said, "Lin Jun, we aren't familiar with each other, but I have something to ask you. Please speak. Rumor has it that your girlfriend is divine sex Saintess Su Mingwei. Is this true?" Lin Jun glanced at Doran and felt that he didn't have any bad intentions. There was nothing to hide about this, so he nodded and said, "Yes. Well, I really envy you. But Lin Jun, I also grew up in Bingsheng, and I am a few years older than you. When I was young, I was sponsored by the Yin Group. I know the eldest daughter of the Yin Group, and Ning, and I know some of the stories between you two. And Ning, where is she?" Lin Jun hadn't seen a Ning for a long time. He didn't even know how she was doing recently. When he heard about a Ning, he was pleasantly surprised. Doran shook his head and said, "I also don't know where Ning went. She has left Bicheng for 3 years. The Yin Group's people are also tight-lipped about her whereabouts. They never tell anyone, but..." Doran paused. Lin Jun took a deep breath and said, "Please tell me where she is." "So what if I tell you? Don't you already have Su Mingwei?" Doran said faintly. Lin Jun looked up at the night sky and said, "I never said that I would give up in Ning. Even if you don't tell me, I will find her sooner or later." "You mean? You still like a Ning?" Doran asked tentatively. "No comment. If you want to say it, then say it. If you don't want to say it, then leave. I will find her even if I have to go to the ends of the earth." Lin Jun closed his eyes. "Well, it seems like you still like her." Doran sighed helplessly and said, "Then I will tell you. Before the war god competition started, I went to the Yin Group and heard someone say that their daughter had returned. I observed carefully and indeed saw Ning." "You really saw her?" Lin Jun opened his eyes. Of course. We haven't seen each other for 3 years, and Ning is already a war god. I have a feeling that if we really fight, I might not be her match. And Ning has advanced to war god? She's back? But why didn't she appear? I don't know about that. I originally thought that she would participate in the war god competition. After that, I also checked all the people who signed up for the competition in Bingxing, and Ning's name was not among them. This matter is a bit strange. After saying this, Doran jumped down from the flower and said, "Okay, that's all I know. Maybe you guys are fated to meet again. I'm leaving." Doran's figure disappeared into the darkness. Lin Jun sat there without moving. If that was the case, then the person who left the message in the Eastern District publicity area should be Ning. But where was she? Lin Jun didn't expect Ning to become so strong. Even Doran, a Hall of Fame war god, felt that he wasn't her match. What had she experienced in the past few years? Lin Jun closed his eyes and meditated quietly. After a night of wind and rain, it was morning. The morning sun shot out a ray of morning light from the east. Summer had arrived. Lin Jun looked at the sea of flowers. The moment the sun shone, a golden light flashed in the distance. Yellow gem. Lin Jun stood up abruptly and ran straight to the place where the golden light was emitting. Lin Jun wasn't the only one who discovered it. Many war gods and other places also saw it. All of them came out of their hiding places and quickly ran through the sea of flowers. After about 20 minutes, Lin Jun arrived at the place where the golden light was emitting. When he arrived, many people had already gathered here. They were all looking up. Lin Jun also raised his head and looked up. He finally knew where the yellow gemstone was. A sunflower as thick as dozens of people hugging it towered high into the sky. The incomparably huge flower disk was facing the direction of the sun. Occasionally, a golden light flashed. Those were yellow gem fragments. Sunflower. So it's a sunflower. Yellow gems are born from bathing in sunlight. The sunflower is the place that receives the most sunlight. There are yellow gems there. The warriors were a little restless. 10 yellow gem fragments were a high-grade astral tool. Even if they couldn't gather all 10, one fragment was worth 1 billion. If they could get one, this trip to Heavenly Garden wouldn't be in vain. Some war gods couldn't hold back and wanted to pick the yellow gem. Because Heavenly Garden forbade the sky, they couldn't fly in places that were too high. They could only climb. There were 2 war gods who came first. They had already climbed up the trunk. The people below thought that they might get the big head. These 2 people suddenly screamed and fell from the trunk. These 2 people were black all over. Before they landed, they turned into light and disappeared. The trunk of the sunflower is full of caterpillars. Someone shouted. Only then did people realize that there were many huge caterpillars lying on the trunk. They were slowly moving up. These caterpillars were each the size of a yacht. The black and yellow hair all over their body was extremely poisonous. It made people shudder. These creatures were huge and poisonous. There were many of them. They definitely couldn't get through the trunk. Everyone's eyes fell on the surrounding morning glory vines. Because the sunflower was so tall, it was practically the tallest plant in Heavenly Garden. Many morning glory vines grew on the sunflower, forming green paths around it. What are you waiting for? Go! A war god from the African Alliance took the lead and climbed up a vine. When he moved, many people around him moved. This sunflower had a dozen vines hanging on it. The hundreds of war gods present all rushed out, looking for the closest vines to climb. When the war god from the African Alliance just climbed up and passed by Morning Glory, that Morning Glory's huge mouth suddenly bit down like a big mouth. This war god from the African Alliance didn't have time to dodge and was immediately swallowed by the Morning Glory. Soon, white light flashed. This war god was eliminated. Gemstone fragments fell one by one. Most were red, a few were blue. The war gods behind him didn't retreat because of his death. Those Morning Glory vines might be able to dodge too. Plus, the light of the yellow gemstone had already evoked the desire in people's hearts. They were still moving forward. Lin Jun also moved. First, he flew up a dozen meters. Then, he quickly climbed up. When he was about to catch up to the last person, he teleported. The higher the altitude, the weaker the power of teleportation. Lin Jun's teleportation only covered a distance of 10 meters. Teleported again. After another 7 or 8 meters, Lin Jun finally surpassed the war gods in front of him. Teleporting couldn't be done in this no-fly zone. Lin Jun began to climb quickly. A Brazilian war god behind him shouted. He was originally first, but was suddenly surpassed by Lin Jun. How could he be satisfied? He pulled out a long sword and was about to attack Lin Jun. Lin Jun suddenly waved his hand. Countless electric lights surged. Energy balls rolled down mercilessly, knocking this war god off the flower vines. Lin Jun wasn't the only one who did this. Many powerful war gods had also started to eliminate their competitors. Chapter 232. The sunflower was a few hundred meters tall. Lin Jun cleared the few competitors behind him and began to move forward quickly. In a short while, he had already reached the top of the sunflower. When he reached the top, he gradually saw the people climbing up from the other flower vines. He glanced over them. Damn, almost all of them were elite war gods. The so-called elite warlords were those who had compressed their Dantian Chi when they were at the peak of the warlord realm. Warlords without compressed Dantian Chi were not competitive here, even if they were level 9 warlords. There were a total of 12 flower vines. Apart from Lin Jun, there were 3 members of the Hall of the Exalted among the 11 people. One of the warlords from Brazil was called Gerardo, a member of the Hall of the Exalted. The other was Gibson, a warlord from the African Union, a member of the Hall of the Exalted. The last one was Lin Jun's old acquaintance, Tong Yuehu from the Gale Martial School in Ice City. The 12 of them occupied different positions. The fragments of the topaz were all in the center of the sunflower. The sunflower disk was extremely huge, almost half the size of a football field. However, this distance was nothing in the eyes of the warlords. Almost everyone moved at the same time, but they were not rushing towards the center of the sunflower. The sunflower seeds were not easy to walk through. They were all attacking the people around them. Lin Jun was the same. He brazenly attacked with his overlord spear. A warlord from the United States also wanted to attack Lin Jun, but his speed was completely inferior to Lin Jun's. He was stabbed to death by Lin Jun's spear. A pile of gemstone fragments flew over. Lin Jun waved his hand and collected them all. Suddenly, he turned his head and a torrential rain of spear lights connected to a long river. After a series of attacks, another warlord from the European Union fell under Lin Jun's spear. The Hall of the Exalted also showed their strength, including Lin Jun and the other 3 Hall of the Exalted. The 4 of them each killed 2 other elite warlords. The 12 of them became 4 in an instant. After clearing the 8 of them, Gibson spoke. Yaourdo, these 2 people are from Ice City. We can only defeat them if we work together. Don't give them a chance to defeat us one by one. Yaourdo immediately went to Gibson's side. At this time, he did not think that Gibson would dare to attack him. If he was eliminated, Gibson would not be able to face the 2 Bang City war gods. The 2 of them instantly formed an alliance and immediately attacked Lin Jun. From their point of view, Tong Yuehu was a 9th grade war god and a member of the Hall of Fame, so he shouldn't be easy to deal with. On the other hand, Lin Jun was only a 5th grade war god. Although he had shown great strength, his level was still low, so he should be able to take him down. Lin Jun wasn't a member of the Hall of Famer, and he wasn't heavily promoted, so they didn't know him. The 2 of them quickly rushed toward Lin Jun, worried that Tong Yuehu would help Lin Jun from behind. Tong Yuehu didn't have any intention of helping Lin Jun. In fact, if it weren't for the faint golden light of the topaz in the center of the sunflower, he would have joined forces with the other 2 war gods to attack Lin Jun. Ha ha! Lin Jun, let these 2 foreign friends play with you. I won't teach you a lesson today. I'm going to collect the topaz. Tong Yuehu laughed loudly when he saw Lin Jun being attacked by 2 Hall of Famers. He went straight to the center of the sunflower. The topaz was located inside the sunflower seed, and it was emitting a golden light through the sunflower seed, but it wasn't easy to collect. The sunflower seeds on the sunflower plate were taller than a person. They were more than 2 meters tall, and they were very close to each other. If one wanted to walk to the center, it was impossible to go around the sunflower seeds. One could only step on the tip of the sunflower seeds and walk carefully. Because the sunflower was located high in the sky, it couldn't fly, and it was swaying gently. It wasn't easy to walk through the sunflower seed array that was the size of a football field. The battle between Lin Jun and the two war gods had begun. Seeing that Tong Yuehu was going to collect the topaz, Lin Jun was a little anxious, but he didn't show it. He still fought with the two war gods with all his strength. Although he was always at a disadvantage, it wasn't easy for his opponents to take him down. Seeing that Tong Yuehu didn't help Lin Jun, but went straight for the topaz fragments, Yayuo Erdo and Gibson were anxious. Gibson saw that Lin Jun didn't seem to be very powerful, but his defense was relatively strong. He said to Yayuo Erdo, "You hold him back, I'll go and teach Tong Yuehu a lesson." "Okay, I'll be able to take care of this brat soon." Yayuo Erdo patted his chest and promised. Gibson immediately left the battle group and went straight to Tong Yuehu. Tong Yuehu tiptoed past a few sunflower seeds. When he saw Gibson chasing after him, he suddenly shouted angrily, "Lin Jun, you're deliberately going easy on me." "What do you mean going easy on me? Why do you have to collect the topaz fragments by yourself? Everyone gets one each. It's fair." Lin Jun saw that Gibson had left and suddenly started to use his strength. He shot out a photoelectric energy ball with one hand, catching Yayuo Erdo unprepared. Lin Jun followed up with a mental attack, then a series of torrential storm and long river combination spear skills, directly eliminating Yayuo Erdo from the competition. After killing Yayuo Erdo, Lin Jun ignored the battle between Tong Yuehu and Gibson and started to think of a way to approach the center of the sunflower. Seeing that Lin Jun wanted to do the same thing and shake him off, Tong Yuehu was suddenly a little anxious. He didn't care about hiding his strength anymore. His body flashed, and a mid-grade astral weapon longsword and armor appeared. He also used his trump card. Gibson's strength wasn't considered strong, and under Tong Yuehu's relentless attacks, he finally couldn't resist. Tong Yuehu succeeded in one strike and eliminated him. However, Gibson's counterattack before his death also injured Tong Yuehu's shoulder. Tong Yuehu didn't care about this injury. Relying on the momentum from killing a Hall of the Exalted member, he pointed his long sword at Lin Jun and said, "Lin Jun, now it's just you and me left. Don't even think about getting a single topaz here. Let's settle this once and for all." Lin Jun didn't immediately attack Tong Yuehu. Instead, he looked behind him. There was a flower vine there. If someone came up from below, Tong Yuehu would be easily attacked. Lin Jun slightly took 2 steps back and said, "Tong Yuehu, although I, Lin Jun, am a new war god, I don't put trash like you in my eyes. If you insist on seeking death, I'll fulfill your wish today. Bah, if I can expel you from Gale, I can also eliminate you today, Lin Jun. I, Tong Yuehu, will be a nightmare that you can't escape from for the rest of your life. I will trample you to death forever." Ha ha ha. Tong Yuehu deliberately provoked Lin Jun loudly, hoping to make Lin Jun panic. However, before he finished speaking, the sunflower swayed and another, war god, jumped up. Tong Yuehu fiercely turned his head. The long sword in his hand slashed down as he shouted, "A member of the Hall of the Exalted is here. Unrelated people, get out of my way." A mid-grade astral tool longsword, a level 9 war god, and a compressed Dantian Chi of 6 stages. This kind of strength couldn't be considered top-notch, but it definitely wasn't weak. In fact, Tong Yuehu hadn't met any real opponents in the Heavenly Garden. However, once he met one, he met a very powerful one. The person in front of him was tall and sturdy, like a strong polar bear. When he saw Tong Yuehu's long sword coming at him, he actually grinned and said, "Hee hee, the dojo master of Gale, China's Ice City. This is a good prey." Lin Jun clearly saw the situation of the battle from afar. Tong Yuehu's swift and unparalleled sword slashed out. However, when it reached that person, it became slower and slower. It was as if he was carrying a mountain on his back. It was so heavy that Tong Yuehu couldn't even straighten his waist. When the long sword was about to reach that person's chest, the tip of the sword was already stuck in the ground. It was difficult for Tong Yuehu to move forward. His face was full of disbelief. Then, that person stretched out his giant hand and grabbed Tong Yuehu's neck. He lifted Tong Yuehu up as if he was grabbing a chicken. His face revealed a cruel and evil smile. Whoosh! Another person jumped onto the sunflower and stood beside that person. Lin Jun had seen these two people before. He had seen them in the magazine. The person who came later was Lancelot from Leningrad headquarters city. He was one of the 3 Russian warriors. The person who was grabbing Tong Yuehu's neck with one hand was St. Petersburg headquarters city's northern war god, Holov. He was the champion of the war god arena in his previous life. Holov held Tong Yuehu's neck with one hand and lifted him up in the air with the other. His arm was stretched out, allowing Tong Yuehu to struggle. Tong Yuehu's long sword was nowhere to be found. Both his hands were holding on tightly to Holov's hand. His face was pale, and his tongue was hanging out. He kept kicking and twisting his legs, but he couldn't shake off the giant hand. Lancelot was almost 2 m tall, but standing beside Holov, he looked like a child. Holov was definitely more than 3 m tall, and he looked like a small mountain standing there. Lancelot laughed at Tong Yuehu. Don't struggle. Holov was born with superhuman strength, and not just any superhuman strength. He was born with superhuman strength, and his strength has been enhanced. Although he's not a spirit reader, his sea of consciousness has mutated, and he's not afraid of any spirit attacks. Hence, any spirit reader is useless in front of him. Not to mention you. Even the S-grade mutant polar bear was killed by him. What's the use of struggling? These words are not just for Tong Yuehu, but also for Lin Jun. Although Holov was grabbing Tong Yuehu, his eyes were fixed on Lin Jun. Lin Jun's expression was calm, but his heart was in turmoil. Born with superhuman strength, sea of consciousness mutation. For these two things to happen to the same person, Holov was truly blessed by the heavens. If 1 out of 10,000 martial artists had superhuman strength, then only 1 out of 10,000 would be born with superhuman strength. A 1 in 100 million chance of a superhuman strength. How many martial artists were there in the world? Currently, the global population was less than 2 billion, and martial artists accounted for less than 10%. That was to say, there were less than 200 million martial artists in the world. Chapter 233. What's even rarer is that Holov has a mutated spiritual sea. A mutated spiritual sea means that one's spiritual sea has been severely damaged or stimulated, making it impossible for one to become a spirit reader in this lifetime. For most people, this is a disaster, but for some people, it's a blessing in disguise and mutated. This mutation means that his spiritual force has been condensed. There's no possibility of it developing. Not only will he forever be unable to become a spirit reader, he will also no longer be afraid of spiritual attacks. Even if Lin Jun is now a late-stage dark gold rank, his spiritual attacks won't be able to cause any damage to Holov's spiritual sea, a 9th-level war god, born with godly strength, and his strength has been specially strengthened. Adding on the mutation of his spiritual force, this person is basically a human tank with almost no weaknesses. Speed might be his weakness, but when Tong Yuehu attacked him just now, he couldn't even touch him, he couldn't even straighten his back and walk. This kind of method made Lin Jun even more wary. Also, from Lin Jun's observation, Holov's Dantian compression is also very strong. It should be about the same level as Su Mingyue, 9th level compression. This kind of person, no wonder Tong Yuehu couldn't even resist and was lifted up by the neck like a baby. Tong Yuehu tried to struggle at first, but seeing that there's no chance, he wanted to give up. At least committing suicide is better than being killed by others and appearing on the big screen. But that Holov isn't simple either. When he felt that Tong Yuehu had given up struggling, he knew that he was going to give up. Try to commit suicide in my hands. That's an insult to my character. Goodbye. China's dojo master is only SOSO. Bang! Holov exerted force with one hand, and Tong Yuehu's neck was crushed by him. In an instant, blood and brain matter splattered everywhere, then turned into specks of light. Tong Yuehu's corpse disappeared from the heavenly garden, leaving behind some rubies and sapphires on his body. Outside the virtual world, there's an uproar. On the second day of entering the virtual world, the number of war gods in the virtual world had decreased. The 30,000 war gods had decreased by more than half, leaving less than 13,000 people. Lin Jun was still number one on the Carnage leaderboard. Currently, he had killed 41 people. However, his number one position was no longer guaranteed. Behind him, the first group of people who had killed over 30 people had already formed. There were more than a dozen people who could replace Lin Jun's position at any time. But now, no one dared to slander Lin Jun. In order to avoid being slapped in the face, those slanderers were holding their breaths and praying to God and Buddha that Lin Jun would be eliminated. At this time, a series of notifications flashed on the big screen. Lin Jun, the god of war from Azure Sky Dojo of Bingcheng Bay City, Huaxia, killed the god of war from Rio de Janeiro Bay City, Brazil, Hall of the Exalted. Tong Yuehu of Lifeng Martial Arts School, Bingcheng Bay City, China, killed AU war god of Cairo, Gibson, Hall of Famer. There had been a fierce battle before. Lin Jun and Tong Yuehu had both eliminated some people, but there were no Hall of the Exalted members among them. At this point, not killing Hall of the Exalted members could no longer arouse people's interest. This time, 2 Hall of the Exalted members had been eliminated in a row, which aroused people's discussion. Oh, did Lin Jun and Tong Yuehu team up? Based on Gibson's performance just now, they should be in the same place. Now, they have both been eliminated by Lin Jun. It can't be. Isn't Lin Jun and Tong Yuehu like fire and water? Why would they team up to fight the enemy? It's hard to say. For the sake of benefits, these warriors will do anything. They may be enemies before, but the next moment, they may be friends. They are all shameless people without principles. Lin Jun is just SOSO. Lin Mi and the others didn't care too much about Lin Jun's views. It was just some unfounded speculation. Now, other than whether Lin Jun could advance or not, nothing else was a problem. After a while, Lin He felt bored. It seemed that Lin Jun's advancement was unstoppable. At this moment, the big screen showed a new message. Russia's St. Petersburg war god Halef killed China's Gale war god Tong Yuehu, Hall of the Exalted. When the news came out, the world exploded. Halef finally attacked China's warriors. Although he'd killed many Chinese war gods before, he didn't kill any Hall of the Exalted members. This was the first time. It was fine if he didn't make a move, but once he made a move, he killed a 9th grade war god. Moreover, it was the Hall Master of Gale Ice City. There was another important point. Tong Yuehu and Lin Jun were together. Now that Tong Yuehu was dead, did Lin Jun still have any hope? The people immediately reached a consensus. Lin Jun was going to be eliminated. No matter how strong he was, he would definitely die if he encountered Halef. Suddenly, the internet was filled with cheers. Lin Jun is finished. He's dead this time. Ha! Lin Jun, you can continue to be arrogant. I guess you won't be able to last 3 minutes. 3 minutes is overestimating him. I bet he won't be able to last 1 minute. 1 minute is still possible. Lin Jun seems to run pretty fast. The only question now is Lin Jun with Tong Yuehu? Immediately, countless people started a search for Tong Yuehu on the internet. After Tong Yuehu was eliminated, he was still looking for an excuse for his elimination. He immediately logged onto the internet and quickly posted a post. In a virtual battle of the Sea of Flowers, Lin Jun and I worked together to eliminate the 2 war gods, Gibson and Yayordo. I believe everyone has seen it. However, after encountering Halef and Lancelot, Lin Jun retreated. I couldn't defeat them and was eliminated. Lin Jun is a despicable and short-sighted person. He wanted to use the enemy to eliminate me. But have you ever thought about how long you can last if I am eliminated? You will soon follow my footsteps. I, Tong Yuehu, will wait here for you to be eliminated. Tong Yuehu's post had several uses. First, it was to find an excuse for his elimination. After all, he was facing 2 Hall of Famers and a super war god like Halef. It was not embarrassing for him to be defeated. Secondly, it was to viciously criticize Lin Jun. From his point of view, Lin Jun would also be eliminated immediately. This would prove his words. It was equivalent to giving a gun to all the Lin Jun haters in the world, allowing them to freely fire at Lin Jun. Tong Yuehu's identity was there. After all, he was Bing City's dojo master and a Chinese. His words were very credible. This ignited a gunpowder keg. Countless posts were rolling on the internet. Less than 1% of the people doubted him. Most of them were criticizing Lin Jun. Of course, there were also some people who defended Lin Jun. They were defending the Chinese martial artists. Lin Jun's performance was good, and his donation in Beijing was also very popular. The Chinese martial artists tried their best to fight back. Don't you all shamelessly defend Lin Jun. This person is a scumbag. He has betrayed his friends more than once. Last time, it was Lei Ming. This time, it was Tong Yuehu. Aren't they both from Bing City? What do you know? Lei Ming and Lin Jun fought before, and Tong Yuehu was the one who kicked Lin Jun out of Gale. Lin Jun will work with anyone but them. I believe in Lin Jun. I believe in Lin Jun too. Stubborn. No matter what you say, it is useless. Tong Yuehu has already spoken. Let's wait for Lin Jun to be eliminated. Let's see what else you all have to say. War God Halaf is invincible. Crush Lin Jun's head. It is best to destroy Lin Jun completely. After he is eliminated from the qualifiers, I want to see if the Saint will still like this useless person. Bullsh *T. The Saint does not like Lin Jun. The Saint is mine. The intense war of words lasted for 5 minutes. There were hundreds of millions of comments on the forum. It was almost impossible to see what was going on. However, after 5 minutes, the war of words gradually stopped. This was because they realized a problem. It had already been 6 to 7 minutes since Tong Yuehu came out and they started scolding him. Why hadn't Lin Jun been eliminated yet? Therefore, people started to question Tong Yuehu. Was he really with Lin Jun? Tong Yuehu immediately pointed to the sky and swore that he was definitely with Lin Jun. He also mentioned the situation at the Sea of Flowers in the virtual world. He said that Halaf and Lancelot were together. Lin Jun definitely had no chance of escaping. The reason why he was not eliminated might be that Halaf was torturing Lin Jun. Tong Yuehu's oath was very convincing. In addition, many war gods who were eliminated came forward to confirm Tong Yuehu's words. In the virtual world, some of the sunflowers had yellow gemstone fragments. Moreover, there were also people who were eliminated who confirmed that Halaf had gone to the Sea of Flowers. Among them were Gibson and Yayuo Erdo, who were eliminated. After these people's testimonies, the Lin haters were relieved. They believed that Lin Jun would definitely not be able to escape from Halaf's pursuit. The only question now was when would Lin Jun be eliminated. In the Paradise Garden, Lin Jun looked at Halaf and Lancelot who were gradually approaching him. To the current Lin Jun, Halaf was almost undefeatable. His weakness was speed. However, Lin Jun did not dare to use his speed recklessly. Tong Yuehu's example was in front of him. Halaf definitely still had some tricks up his sleeve. Halaf walked over with a ferocious smile. Hee hee. Lin Jun, oh Lin Jun. When I found out that you came to the Sea of Flowers, I even gave up on my plan to go through the Sea of Flowers. I purposely came back to deal with you. In the end, I really trapped you here. Now, where are you going to run to? Although the sunflower was half the size of a football field, it was nothing to a war god. Lin Jun only had 2 choices now. One was to give up all the yellow gemstone fragments and jump off the sunflower to escape. The other was to stay and fight. There was a distance where he could not teleport from the sunflower. Facing the floating petunias, jumping off might not guarantee his survival. Chapter 234. Ha ha ha. Lin Jun, unless you commit suicide today, I will tear you into pieces. Lancelot, block off Lin Jun's escape route. Watch me kill him. Lancelot immediately circled around the sunflower, trying to block off Lin Jun from another direction. The center of the sunflower was filled with sunflower seeds. The gaps between the seeds were not small, and the tip of the seeds was smaller than a human's foot. It was impossible to move around there, so as long as he circled around, Lin Jun would have no way to escape. Lin Jun also knew this, but he did not think of escaping. Since he had met the strongest war god, he wanted to test his opponent's strength. Spiritual attack. Late dark gold spiritual power whizzed out and went straight for Holof's spiritual sea. Boom! Lin Jun felt as if his spiritual power had hit an invisible wall and was immediately repelled. It did not affect Holof at all. Ha ha! I already said that my spiritual sea has mutated and condensed. Any spiritual power attack is useless against me. Lin Jun, do you still want to overestimate yourself? Lin Jun saw that his spiritual power was indeed ineffective. He immediately held his overlord spear and fiercely stabbed out. Storm. The sky was filled with spear shadows, covering a large area. Holof sneered and walked towards Lin Jun, ignoring the sky full of spear rain. When Lin Jun's spear rain entered within 5 meters of Holof, Lin Jun suddenly felt that the spear in his hand was at least 10 million pounds. An invisible pressure fell from the sky, making him unable to hold the spear. Even standing was a problem. Gravity field. Lin Jun suddenly cried out. He did not expect that Holof was not only a natural-born Herculean king, but also a master of gravity field. The gravity field was a very special attack, and it could be done just by using the Dantian Chi. The formless pressure field expanded outwards with Holof as the center, and everything within 10 meters of him was within the range of his gravity field. Lin Jun felt as though he was carrying a mountain on his shoulders. Wanting to raise his overlord spear to attack was nothing more than a pipe dream. At this moment, his muscles and bones started to cry out, as he was somewhat unable to withstand the immense pressure that was descending from the sky. Ha ha ha! That's right, this is a gravitational field. Lin Jun, I've activated 10 times the normal pressure. Every square centimeter in a 10-meter radius around me is bearing 10 times the normal pressure. For example, if your gun weighs 500 kilograms, then this is 5,000 kilograms. Lin Jun, can you still wield it? Your weight has increased tenfold. Under my heavy suppression, it's difficult for you to even straighten your back. Lin Jun, do you still want to fight? Lin Jun single-handedly used the overlord spear to push against the ground, forcing his body to not fall. He clenched his teeth and withstood the immense pressure. Don't hold on. Be obedient and let me catch you. Be torn apart like a rag doll. Holof walked forward step by step. His huge palm reached out and was about to squeeze Lin Jun's neck. Lin Jun lowered his head, gathering strength in his body. No wonder Tong Yuehu couldn't resist at all. This guy isn't afraid of mental attacks. And with the gravity field suppression, any object that enters the gravitational field will be suppressed and unable to move. The only way to break the gravitational field is to use an energy body. Only an energy body can be unaffected by the gravitational field. I have to fight back. Seeing Holof walk over, the overlord spear in Lin Jun's hand suddenly disappeared. It was extremely difficult for him to even raise his hand, but Lin Jun still persisted and made a move. He raised his head, and his eyes glowed. The charged particles in his body glowed and shot out from his eyes. Holof instinctively felt that it was too dazzling and raised his hand to block it. This small movement gave Lin Jun a chance to catch his breath. He flipped his palm. An energy ball shot out, fiercely shooting towards Holof. Boom! The electrical energy exploded in front of Holof's chest. Light and electricity were energy bodies that weren't affected by the gravitational field, and their speed was very fast. Holof couldn't dodge it. The explosion shook the sunflower slightly, but the result made Lin Jun's jaw drop. A high-grade astral armor appeared on Holof's chest. Although the electrical energy made him shake, he still stood steadily. He didn't fall or get injured. Kid, you really have some tricks up your sleeve. No wonder you could kill Adolf. But after meeting me, your luck is over. This time, you won't have any chance. Holof raised his hand and was about to release the gravitational field again. Lin Jun knew the situation wasn't good. Taking advantage of the time before the gravitational field increased, he suddenly retreated and jumped onto the seeds in the center of the sunflower. The tips of the sunflower seeds were facing upwards. Lin Jun stepped on the tip of each sunflower seed with each step and quickly ran forward. Soon, she reached the center of the sunflower field. At this distance, he was already out of the range of Holof's gravitational field. Standing at the edge, he couldn't use the gravitational field to suppress Lin Jun. Lin Jun once again pulled out his overlord spear and pointed at Holof. Holof, I'll wait for you here. Do you dare to come up and fight with me? Damn rat, don't think you can run away like this. Holof seemed to be very disdainful of Lin Jun's actions. He took large strides towards the sunflower seeds. When he walked up, he immediately felt something was wrong. The distance between the tips of each seed was about a meter. If he didn't take a step, he would easily fall. Fighting here was really a skill. After taking a few steps forward, he realized that the gravitational field didn't seem to work so well here. If the gravitational field was too weak, it couldn't deal with Lin Jun. Every time the gravitational field enveloped Lin Jun, the first one to give up wasn't Lin Jun. It was the sunflower seeds that would shatter under the force. Lin Jun used this opportunity to collect 3 pieces of yellow gem. Moreover, this guy was very slippery. He didn't stay in any place for long. When the gravitational field came down, he would use the force of the sunflower seeds to dodge. Not only did it not suppress him, but it also blocked Holof's way forward a few times. Holof decided not to use the gravitational field. With the upper astral armor protecting him, he didn't care about Lin Jun's attack. He took large strides towards Lin Jun. Lancelot, stop him. It was too difficult to walk on the sunflower seeds. Holof had to ask Lancelot for help. Lancelot answered loudly and entered the center of the sunflower. It carefully walked on the sunflower seeds and approached Lin Jun. Seeing that Lancelot was approaching, Lin Jun, who had been fighting with Holof, finally started his counterattack. The path was difficult for Holof and Lancelot, but it was nothing to Lin Jun. To him, it was the standard plum blossom dueling ground. When he was learning spear skills from Zhang Guanyue, Lin Jun was very familiar with the plum blossom dueling ground. He had been fighting with Holof to lure Lancelot here. His opponent was one of the 3 Russian warriors. Lin Jun had already eliminated Adolf. It would be difficult for him to eliminate Adolf again. However, when it came to the sunflower, it was no longer up to him. Lancelot, be careful. Holof was struggling to walk, but he saw Lin Jun accelerate all of a sudden. It was as if she was running on flat ground as she charged towards Lancelot. Don't worry, I'm going to kill him. Lancelot was not worried about Lin Jun. Both of them met and started a fight. The Overlord spear in Lin Jun's hand was like a venomous dragon, attacking Lancelot from all angles. It was not that Lancelot was weak, but it was too difficult for him to turn around. It was not difficult to attack, but to not fall after turning around. Clang, clang, clang. After 3 consecutive shots, Lin Jun leaped behind Lancelot twice in a row and stabbed him 3 times in the back. Lancelot turned around in panic. Lin Jun's spirit attack. Lancelot also had a spirit defense astral weapon, but it was unavoidable that he was half a beat slower. The pause of less than 0.1 seconds had caused his feet to deviate from the landing point. Lancelot had to control his balance as he fell. However, Lin Jun would not give him the chance to do so and continued to stab him. Poof, poof, poof. Blood spurted out and Lancelot screamed. His body turned into light spots, and he was eliminated. Not far away, Holof was still struggling to move forward, roaring as he ran. Lin Jun sneered. You big bear from Siberia, take your time. I'm going to collect the gem shards first. Using his speed advantage, Lin Jun avoided Holof's gravitational field. Moreover, Lin Jun had gravitational field which allowed him to attack from more than 10 meters away. The gold aura broke the sunflower seeds, and the gravitational field absorbed the topaz. In just a short while, he had collected almost 20 topaz pieces on the sunflower. Although there were still people being eliminated on the big screen outside, there was no news about Lin Jun. 5 minutes passed, and another person was eliminated. Among them, someone brought the latest news. There was a huge battle on a sunflower in the Sea of Flowers. Lin Jun was fighting fiercely with Russia's Hollow and Lancelot. He was watching the battle from afar, but he was killed by the European Union's Crazy. No one cared if this unlucky guy was dead or alive. What was important was the news he brought. Lin Jun was fighting. Holof and Lancelot had teamed up. Lin Jun was doomed. Lin Jun's fans began to look forward to the moment when Lin Jun was eliminated. Many of them even typed on their keyboards. They were waiting for Lin Jun to be eliminated so that they could post insulting articles to provoke the Chinese martial artists. Time ticked away, and another 5 minutes passed. Just when everyone was getting impatient, the big screen finally showed a rolling message. Chapter 235. Lin Jun had killed Lancelot. The people outside could not believe what they had seen. Wasn't Lancelot with Holliff? How could he be killed by Lin Jun? Could it be that Lin Jun's ability had surpassed Holliff's? That was impossible. Holliff's strength had been deeply rooted in the people's hearts. Lin Jun had only been promoted to warlord not long ago. Even if he was a god, it was impossible for him to achieve such a feat in such a short period of time. However, Lancelot was dead. That was the absolute truth. Lin Me on the internet exploded once again. Countless celebratory posts appeared like a geyser. Lin Jun is so cool. I love you. Tan Yuehu is a burden. It's better that he's dead. Lin Jun doesn't need you at all. You're just a hindrance in there. Do you think you're worthy of criticizing Lin Jun? Expelling Lin Jun is the stupidest thing you've ever done in your life. What else do the haters have to say this time? They're all speechless. Haha. Good luck, Lin Jun. Continue to kill Holliff. How many Hall of the Famers has Lin Jun killed? Why isn't a master like Lin Jun in the Hall of the Famers? What's the point of such a ranking? Posts after posts appeared. Lin Jun's haters were frustrated. As time passed, there was still no news of Lin Jun's elimination. They were disappointed and curious at the same time. Why was there no result in the battle between Holliff and Lin Jun? Seeing that Lin Jun had collected the topaz fragments one by one, Holliff finally had enough of the snail-like speed. He roared, "Lin Jun, get down here!" An unprecedented gravitational force fell from the sky. Holliff's hair stood on end. It was obvious that it was very difficult for him to exert such a great pressure. The sunflower was already huge. After being pressed by the immense pressure, it could not withstand the gravitational force, and the huge flower disk fell. Lin Jun didn't expect Holliff to be so extreme as to destroy the sunflower. Lin Jun couldn't fly at high altitudes. He hurriedly grabbed the edge of the sunflower and tried his best to maintain his balance as he plummeted. The sound of wind whistling could be heard, and the ground was rapidly approaching. Holliff was holding a morning glory vine in his hand. While descending, he was still staring at Lin Jun, waiting for the moment when he was close to the ground. When he was only a dozen meters above the ground, the effect of the forbidden flight disappeared. Lin Jun activated his telekinesis and prepared to teleport away. Who? A huge gravitational force descended from the sky. Lin Jun, who was in the air, was unable to avoid the gravitational field. His body was smashed to the ground uncontrollably. Lin Jun, you're going to die here. Holliff's body was too strong. He smashed to the ground like a cannonball. His legs were almost nailed into the ground and immediately bounced up. The gravitational field was still suppressing Lin Jun. Lin Jun raised his hand as he was about to hit the ground. The liquid metal turned into a long rope and hooked onto a flower stem in the distance. He was about to pull himself out of the gravitational field. As long as he was out of the gravitational field, he was confident that he could escape Holliff's pursuit. But just as Holliff was about to pounce, a sword aura suddenly attacked from behind. The sharp sword aura made his hair stand on end. He couldn't care less about chasing Lin Jun. He hurriedly turned around a block. This was the first time Holliff used a weapon. A huge war hammer blocked the incoming sword aura. A string of sparks flew. Holliff was furious when he saw the person in front of him. Chris, you are the European Union's Chris. You dare to sneak attack me? At this time, the gravitational field suppressing Lin Jun disappeared. Lin Jun quietly withdrew the liquid metal and looked at the person who sneak attacked Holliff. He wanted to see who was so daring. A head of golden hair scattered down like waves. She wore a black golden mask on her face. Only her sapphire-like eyes and beautiful red lips were exposed. Her skin was smooth and smooth. Just from her skin and lips, she looked a bit like an Asian. She wore a black skirt armor. The skirt armor and the metal mask were both astral tools. In her hand was an Asian-style sword. It was actually a high-grade astral tool. A beautiful and mysterious woman. She was the European Union's war god Chris. Beside her, there was a typical Western beauty. Lin Jun knew that this person was called Alice. She was Hanson's superior. Chris's sneak attack didn't succeed. She coldly laughed. Who told you to have such a dense treasure aura? If I didn't sneak attack you, who would I sneak attack? You're lucky that you didn't succeed this time. Alice, let's go. Saying this, Chris jumped and quickly left the place. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared. Although Holliff was very strong, speed was his weakness. Seeing Chris disappear, he couldn't catch up. Lin Jun faintly heard Alice's voice. Miss, you're too daring. You actually dared to sneak attack Holliff. Wait for me. Lin Jun glanced at Holliff and directly rose into the air. Big Bear, you can stay here and remember your dead comrade. Goodbye. If a spirit reader wanted to leave in a place where they could fly, it was almost impossible to catch them. Moreover, Lin Jun was a dark gold stage spirit reader. Holliff was furious, but he could only watch Lin Jun leave. Lin Jun, Chris, you two better remember this. This is only the preliminaries. When it comes to the knockout stage, unless you give up, I will make sure you die miserably when you meet my people. Holliff had never been so depressed before. He vented his anger by smashing things around him. It was such a mess that no one dared to approach him. After venting his anger, Holliff began to move forward. He didn't want to get gemstone shards anymore. He wanted to go to the garden house as soon as possible and obtain a place to advance. Lin Jun flew for a while and circled around. He found that there were only a few sunflowers in the surrounding dozens of miles. Moreover, they had all been explored. It was almost impossible to find any more yellow gemstones. He didn't stay here any longer and headed straight for the stream. On the way, Lin Jun was still thinking about Chris. Did this woman really plan to sneak attack Holliff? Why was she so confident? If she really eliminated Holliff, would she continue to attack him? After analyzing the situation at that time, Lin Jun felt that he was the best target, but Crazy chose Holliff, who was more difficult to deal with. Could it be that she wanted to save him? No way. Lin Jun didn't know any Western war goddess. This was impossible. Throwing away these chaotic thoughts, Lin Jun slowly walked into a bamboo forest. The bamboo forest was the closest place to the stream. After passing through the bamboo forest, he would reach the stream. At this time, the sky was getting dark and the air was getting colder. Summer in the Garden of Heaven was about to end. Autumn was about to arrive. At night, Lin Jun rested in the depths of the bamboo forest. There were night spiders and green bamboo pythons. Traveling at night wasn't a good idea. Lying on a bamboo leaf, just as he closed his eyes, a notification came from the system. Opening it, there was actually someone who advanced first. Congratulations to Los Angeles War God Doke from America for reaching the garden house. Currently, there are 1,023 spots left. Lin Jun was stunned for a moment. Wow, they're really going all out. Autumn hasn't even arrived, and they're already at the garden hut. This will definitely agitate those who haven't advanced yet. I reckon that there will be fewer and fewer people fighting for the gem shards. Looking at the total number of people in the garden, it had dropped from 13,000 to 8,000. Lin Jun closed his eyes. After a day of running and fighting, he was slightly tired. He started to rest. It was already the third day of the qualifiers. The spectators outside were still in high spirits as they watched the people who advanced continuously appear on the big screen. Congratulations to Pogba from the African Alliance for reaching the garden house. Currently, there are 106 spots left. Congratulations to Shehan, the god of war from India, for reaching the garden hut and obtaining an advancement slot. There are currently 981 advancement slots left. Congratulations to China's war god, Feng and I, for reaching the garden hut and obtaining an advancement slot. There are currently 922 advancement slots remaining. Congratulations to Air from the European Union for reaching the garden house. Currently, there are 870 spots left. One by one, people advanced. Among them, Feng and I from China, Tang Wenbo, Dolong, Exen Rahai, Ma Yao, Wei Li, and the others advanced. The members of the Hall of Fame from all over the world also showed their strength. As long as they were not eliminated halfway, it was not a problem for them to advance. By noon of the third day, the number of people who advanced had reached 700. There were only 300 spots left. At this time, Lin Jun, who everyone was paying attention to, had just arrived at the stream. Lin Jun was also working hard. Following the majority to the stream, he stayed in the bamboo forest area. After a morning of searching, he finally found nearly 20 topaz shards. Currently, Lin Jun had 500 ruby shards, 100 sapphire shards, and 40 topaz shards. He was considered a super rich person. After collecting 40 topaz shards, Lin Jun finally stopped and decided to go to the stream. He had no choice but to go. There were only 300 spots left. If he really delayed his advancement because of collecting shards, it would be too tragic. After reaching the side of the stream, Lin Jun saw a big river. The river was thousands of meters wide. It was mighty, and there were many people crossing the river. None of these people went into the water or flew. Instead, they used the bamboo on the shore to make huge bamboo rafts and began to cross the river. Why don't we fly over? Just as Lin Jun was puzzled, a spirit reader couldn't hold it in any longer. He flew close to the surface of the river, but a huge goldfish suddenly emerged from the water and swallowed him whole. After the goldfish jumped out, 7 or 8 other goldfish jumped out of the water at the same time. However, they did not swallow anything. Wow, such a big fish. Is it a goldfish or a whale? No wonder they want to make the bamboo raft bigger. I have to act quickly. Chapter 236. Lin Jun had a giant interspatial ring. Sometimes, he would throw his spoils of war into it. After rummaging around, he really did find a large bundle of rope. Using the long knife made from liquid metal, Lin Jun began to cut the bamboo to make the raft. Only when the raft was big enough that the goldfish couldn't swallow would they have a chance to cross the river. After 2 hours, a giant bamboo raft was finally completed. Looking at the number of people who could advance, he found that there were less than 200 people left. The total number of people in Heaven's Garden was less than 4,000. There were still many people fighting on the riverbank. The qualifiers wouldn't last until the end. Before winter came, those who could advance would have already advanced. The remaining people would still be looking for fragments. Lin Jun pushed the giant bamboo raft and rushed to the riverbank. As he ran, he shouted, "Out of the way! Out of the way! Anyone in my way will die." Some of the war gods who had gone crazy for the gemstone fragments didn't care. They rushed toward Lin Jun. Lin Jun tried to put the raft into his interspatial ring, but he found that the raft was a little too big. It just didn't fit. He had no choice but to stand on the raft and fight with these fugitives. The people blocking the way weren't experts. Most of the real experts had left. These people weren't much of a threat to Lin Jun. Lin Jun continuously teleported. His spear flashed, and one war god after another fell to his spear. Even so, there were still many people who rushed out of the bamboo forest by the riverbank. When they saw Lin Jun's body, they immediately rushed over with bloodshot eyes. Lin Jun didn't have a chance to push the raft into the river. He could only fight with these people on the riverbank. Outside the virtual world, people were looking at the big screen, nervously waiting for the results. Congratulations to Russia's war god Halef for reaching the Garden Hut. He has advanced to the next round. There are still 100 spots left. Many of Halef's supporters cheered. The strongest person in their hearts had advanced. The champion of this competition was certain. On the other hand, Lin Jun supporters were a little nervous. Why hadn't Lin Jun advanced yet? The rolling credits on the big screen were still flashing. War god Lin Jun from Gale Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingxiang, killed non-league War god Triple X. War god Lin Jun from Gale Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia I City killed War god Triple X of Huaxia. God of War Lin Jun from Gale Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingxiang, killed Indian god of War Triple X. These words had appeared countless times. Lin Jun was originally no longer at the top of the slaughter leaderboard, but after this crazy massacre, he once again soared to the top and left the others far behind. His current kill count had already reached 180 people. In just a short period of time, he had killed more than 100 people. F***CK. This Lin Jun is really crazy. He's fighting so fiercely. If this goes on, even if he doesn't participate in the knockout round, I'm afraid he won't be able to spend money in this lifetime. What do you know? Lin Jun doesn't lack money at all. He donated 30 billion at one time in Capital City. Someone must be besieging him. He must have a lot of gem fragments on him now. I think Lin Jun is in danger. It's a pity that he can't participate in a knockout round, even if he obtains more gem fragments. Of course, although Lin Jun isn't a member of the Hall of the Famer, his strength has proven that he deserves to be in the Hall of the Famer. Who doesn't want to stand out in the knockout round? That's the highlight of the world's attention. It's useless to kill more people at this time. Look, how many Hall of the Famer members are still in the Heavenly Garden who haven't advanced? Some people began to check the number of Hall of the Famer members in the virtual world. As a result, they found that there were less than 10 Hall of the Famer members in the virtual world. Among them were the European Union's war god of Paris, Chris, the European and American war god of Madrid, Alice, the Saintess of Huaxia Church of God's Grace, Su Mingyue, the Russian war god of Moscow, Bay City, Kip, and so on. What's going on? These beauties haven't advanced? My Saintess Su is still there? Who knows? I've seen Crazy's poster. Although she's wearing a mask, she should still be a super beauty. Alice is also a sexy stunner. If these goddesses aren't participating, the god of war will be a lot less interesting. I still hope to see Lin Jun participate, but it seems that it's too late. On the big screen, another person had advanced. There are only 50 spots left. In a virtual world, not many people dared to approach Lin Jun. Who's next? Yes, who's next? Lin Jun moved left and right with the Overlord Spear, scaring the remaining gods of war into hiding. When these people saw that they couldn't handle Lin Jun, they finally decided to retreat. Lin Jun finally found an opportunity and prepared to push the bamboo raft into the river. However, the moment he turned around, he heard a loud sound. Boom! Lin Jun was caught off guard, and the bamboo raft was quietly cut in half by the saber. Lin Jun was instantly enraged. He turned around and saw that it was Kip, one of the 3 brave warriors of Russia. After Kip's sneak attack, he immediately ran towards the bamboo forest in the distance, laughing as he ran. Lin Jun, come chase me. If you chase me, you won't be able to advance to the next round, and I'll be able to avenge my 2 brothers. This person was a natural speed user. He ran very fast. Lin Jun hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he didn't chase after him. The big picture was more important. Even if it's half a bamboo raft, it can still cross the river. Lin Jun raised his hand. The liquid metal transformed into several hooks and hooked the 2 sections of the raft together. Lin Jun couldn't care about anyone else. He pushed the raft into the water and began to cross the river. Kip poked his head out of the bamboo forest. Seeing that Lin Jun could enter the river like this, he coldly snorted. You want to advance? It's not that easy. I have a bamboo raft too. Watch me play with you in the river. Lin Jun entered the river. Although the bamboo raft could still be used, Lin Jun had originally planned to use the liquid metal as oars. Now, he could only find 2 shields to use as oars. He couldn't help but slow down a bit. From time to time, he would look at the system. Another person had advanced. There were only 20 spots left. This is bad. This time, I might have really gone too far. Those damned Russians. They're still plotting against me at the last moment. He tried his best to use the shields to paddle, but the bamboo raft continued to move slowly towards the opposite bank. Lin Jun was moving forward with great difficulty. Behind him, Kip was actually riding on a bamboo raft, cutting through the waves as he charged forward. Kip's bamboo raft was about 150 meters away from Lin Jun. That distance was outside of Lin Jun's teleportation range. When he passed by Lin Jun's bamboo raft, he turned his head and smiled. Lin Jun, bye-bye. There are only a few spots left. I think I can get one more. You, on the other hand, won't be good enough. Ha ha ha. After seeing him, Lin Jun smiled. Really? But I think I still have hope. Forget it. With that crappy bamboo raft of yours, it's as slow as a turtle. Save it. Lin Jun raised his hand and removed the liquid metal. The bamboo raft split in half. The waves in the water moved, and a goldfish rushed out. Lin Jun's body rose into the air, and he borrowed the momentum of the goldfish to fly forward. He moved closer to Wei Li's bamboo raft by about 30 meters. Kip was shocked. He hurriedly tried to speed up and leave, but Lin Jun teleported another 100 meters closer. Another goldfish rushed out of the water and tried to bite Lin Jun, who was in the air. The liquid metal in his hand became a hook, and it hooked onto the bamboo raft a dozen meters away. With a pull, he dodged the goldfish. Lin Jun's body landed on the bamboo raft. Now, I want to switch boats with you. Is that okay? Lin Jun smiled at Kip. Kip was a little stunned. F***CK off. The liquid metal slashed across, and Kip was eliminated by Lin Jun. Now, the 3 Russian warriors who had insulted Lin Jun were all eliminated by Lin Jun himself. At this time, someone was waiting anxiously in the garden house. Su Mingwei stood in front of a seat, anxiously pacing back and forth. She had been here for a long time, but she couldn't relax until she saw Lin Jun arrive. She had taken a seat and didn't give it to anyone. If Lin Jun didn't have a seat when he arrived, she would leave it for Lin Jun. Just as she was anxiously waiting, a woman in black armor walked in front of Su Mingwei. Su Mingwei raised her head and glanced at the woman. With a woman's intuition, she knew that this was a very outstanding woman, and that she had come for her. Looking at her a little cautiously, Su Mingwei said, "This seat is taken." The woman nodded. "I know. You left it for Lin Jun, right?" Su Mingwei paused. "How do you know?" "Of course I know. Although the divine sect Holy Maiden is high above and respected by tens of thousands of people, she's actually just a silly girl." Su Mingwei didn't quite understand what she meant. She tilted her head and looked at her. "Haha, you're such a lovely person. No wonder Lin Jun likes you. However, I think you could do something else." The woman said, "What do you mean? Why do you insist on taking a seat? As long as you get rid of all the newcomers, won't you be able to leave a seat for Lin Jun?" Su Mingwei paused and shook her head. "That's not fair to the others." "Silly girl, as long as you and your sweetheart can smoothly advance, who cares if it's fair to others?" Su Mingwei still lowered her head. "I don't want to do that. Moreover, I believe that Lin Jun will arrive before the end. He's always been able to good. I give up, silly girl." "All right, I'll wait with you. Alice, come and take a seat. The 3 of us will wait here together." Alice walked over and sat beside Su Mingwei. She glanced at her. "Holy Maiden Su, you're so beautiful. I actually like you very much." "Thank you," Su Mingwei replied politely. The 3 of them were the only remaining members of the Hall of the Exalted. No one dared to say anything about them taking up 3 seats. If someone came in, they could only go to the seats behind to advance. Chapter 237. On the streets around the world, people stared at the big screens nervously. The qualifiers were coming to an end, but a few popular warlords had yet to advance or be eliminated. No one knew what they were doing. The first one was Su Mingwei. The Star God sect was not limited to China. They were spread all over the world. As the Virgin of the God sect, Su Mingwei's popularity was global. Other countries also had saintesses, and they were all women with outstanding strength and appearance. However, they were not worth mentioning when compared to Su Mingwei. Especially after the popularization of the internet in the past 2 years, the church's publicity had become more and more powerful. Su Mingwei's popularity had also increased, and it had even led many young people to believe in the church. Other than Su Mingwei, Chris and Alice were also popular in the European Union. As for Alice, she was a famous beauty in the European Union and had a lot of fans. Although Chris didn't have much of a reputation before, her sudden rise in the qualifiers, coupled with her outstanding beauty, naturally attracted a lot of attention. The black mask covered her face, but people could still tell that she was a beauty from many aspects. This aroused people's curiosity. It would be a pity if she did not advance. However, there were also many people who were paying attention to Lin Jun. Lin Jun, the controversial guy, had not stopped since the beginning. He was looked down upon by the Russians and fought back fiercely. First, he killed Adolf from the far east with 1 hit. Then, he killed Lancelot in front of Olaf. Just a moment ago, He had even killed the last of the 3 Russian warriors, Kip. Now, the 3 Russian warriors had been wiped out, and the only Russian expert who had advanced was Holov. However, if Lin Jun did not advance, it would be a pity. Many people were looking forward to the battle between him and Holov in the God of War arena. It would be very exciting. However, there was no activity on the big screen for a while. There were only about 1,000 people left in the Heavenly Garden. Most of them had given up on advancing and stayed in the garden to look for gemstone fragments. Another message flashed. Congratulations to Warlord XXX from Mumbai, India, for advancing. There are 6 spots left. There are only 6 left. Oh my God, is there really going to be someone eliminated? May the heavens bless me. My Saintess must advance. Come on, Chris. You are the hope of the EU. Lin Jun, what are you doing, you bastard? We're all waiting for you. Ha 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 ha. Lin Jun is going to be finished. I'm so happy. If you can't advance, it doesn't matter how many people you kill. Go cry in front of your gem shards. Another message flashed across the big screen. Congratulations to the God of War XXX from the United States for advancing to the next round. There are currently 5 spots left. Before people could be surprised, another message scrolled past. Congratulations to Alice, the God of War from the European Union's Madrid-based city. Currently, there are 4 spots left. Some people in the European Union breathed a sigh of relief after Alice's advancement. However, they were more concerned about the fact that Chris had yet to advance, which caused some people to worry. In the garden house, Chris looked at the few spots left behind her and said to Su Mingyue, "Now, there are only 2 spots left besides you and me. Do you still want to wait for Lin Jun?" "I will definitely wait for him." Su Mingyue's eyes were firm. A strange look appeared in Chris's eyes. She hesitated for a moment. "Saintess Su, do you love Lin Jun?" Su Mingyue thought for a moment. "Does it count as love if I want to be with him forever? I don't quite understand." Chris rolled her big blue eyes at Su Mingyue. "Do you think Lin Jun loves you?" Su Mingyue nodded without hesitation. She had never doubted this point. Faced with Su Mingyue's frankness, Chris fell silent. After a while, another spot beside her was taken. There was only 1 spot left for the 2 of them to advance. Chris stood up and walked to the last spot. Before she left, she said to Su Mingyue, "These 2 spots are reserved for you. Don't let anyone else take them before Lin Jun comes." "Silly girl, I'll teach you a lesson today. If you love him, you must be with him. I believe that Lin Jun doesn't want you to be eliminated at the cost of his advancement, because other than your lover, no one else is worthy of your attention and sacrifice. You are the saintess of the Church of God. Kindness is your nature, but sometimes some things are more important than kindness." Su Mingyue watched Chris walk to the last spot and finally nodded to her. "I think what you said makes sense. I hope you can do it. Bye. I promise we will meet again. Yes, for a very, very long time." Chris's figure disappeared. The system sent another notification. Congratulations to the EU's Paris God of War Chris for advancing. There are 2 spots left. After Chris advanced, Su Mingyue stood in front of these 2 spots, waiting for Lin Jun's arrival. However, the next person to enter wasn't Lin Jun, but a God of War from China. This person was also from the capital Bay City. He ran all the way into the garden house. When he saw the 2 spots beside Su Mingyue, he immediately ran over. "Saintess Su, I'm so happy to see you here." When he saw Su Mingyue, he immediately became excited. This was a woman above the clouds. It was rare to see her from afar. He didn't expect to see her in the virtual world. Su Mingyue nodded. "Hello, but this spot is taken." "Ah." The God of War froze for a moment, then said, "Aren't there 2 spots? I left the other spot for someone else." "How can that be? That person hasn't arrived yet. This is called first come, first served. This spot should be mine. As the saintess of the divine sect, how can you do such a thing? This is unfair to others." This God of War was very confident. He was also a fan of Su Mingyue. He thought he knew Su Mingyue quite well. As long as he pressured her with reason, Su Mingyue would definitely back down. However, he didn't expect Su Mingyue to not back down this time. Her face flushed red. Su Mingyue bit her red lips. "Not this time. Why not? Have you forgotten the teachings of the divine sect? How did the starry sky, true God, teach you? How can you be the saintess with your actions? Su Mingwe still shook her head. I really can't this time. I must keep this spot. You can go. Umph. Do you think I'll go just because you want me to? I won't go. You can sit there. Let's see what you can do to me. As he spoke, the warrior headed straight for his seat. He didn't believe Su Mingyue could attack him. Unexpectedly, Su Mingyue's face turned cold. A long sword appeared in her hand, and she was about to stab the god of war. However, before her sword could stab down, a rainbow-colored light suddenly flew over and pierced through the back of the war god's heart, directly eliminating her from the competition. Su Mingwe turned around and saw Lin Jun walking in. At the same time, he smiled at Su Mingwe. You've improved this time. You know how to make a choice. However, there's no need to dirty your hands with this kind of person. I'll deal with him. Su Mingwe looked at Lin Jun. Her big eyes were filled with longing. A trace of tears appeared at the corner of her eyes. What's wrong? Aren't I here now? After the war god arena ends, I think we'll meet again soon. Su Mingwe nodded slightly. When Lin Jun came closer, she gently leaned into Lin Jun's embrace. At this moment, she didn't even want to advance immediately. After being separated for so long, it was too difficult for them to meet again. Although this was just a virtual world, she was still very greedy. Smelling the elegant fragrance of Su Mingyue's hair and feeling the warmth of the beautiful body in his embrace, Lin Jun took a deep breath. Why are you so decisive this time? I thought that with your personality, you'd rather be eliminated than hurt others. Someone taught me some principles, Su Mingwe replied. Who? A foreign woman. She told me that if we like each other, we have to be together. You definitely don't want me to be eliminated as the prize for your advancement. Lin Jun nodded. She's right. You should thank her. I think we'll meet again. All right, it's about time. Let's hurry up and advance. Otherwise, others will gossip about us if we occupy the last two positions. Su Mingwe nodded and left Lin Jun's embrace. She seemed to have suddenly thought of something and said to Lin Jun, I've advanced to a dark gold telekinesis master. That's amazing. Then I really have to congratulate my little Yor. Lin Jun looked at her beautiful face and couldn't help but pinch her cheeks. Su Mingwe let him pinch and said softly, When you were at the starfruit tree, did you advance to dark gold? Lin Jun nodded. That's right. I obtained a telekinesis star crystal there. After absorbing it, I advanced to dark gold. Su Mingyue's face became redder and redder. Even her white little ears seemed a little transparent. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Lin Jun. Her voice was like a mosquito. Then you. Lin Jun looked back at this time and felt that there were people outside approaching the garden house. He immediately pulled Su Mingwe. Be good. Let's not talk about it. More people are coming. Let's hurry up and advance. As he spoke, he pulled Su Mingyue's hand and sat side by side on two seats. Just as they were about to turn into white light and disappear, Su Mingwe suddenly leaned over. Her beautiful face was close to Lin Jun. Lin Jun closed his eyes happily. Couldn't help but take the initiative to kiss him. This was the first time. He had to enjoy it. However, Su Mingwe didn't kiss Lin Jun. Instead, she revealed 2 rows of white teeth and fiercely bit Lin Jun's neck. You. Lin Jun was in pain. He turned his head to look at Su Mingwe. However, he saw Su Mingwe glaring at him with an angry expression that he had never seen before. Then, she disappeared in front of him. After advancing, Lin Jun's body also disappeared from the garden house. In the next moment, Lin Jun opened his eyes and appeared at home. He instinctively raised his hand to touch his neck. There were no wounds on it. The wounds in the virtual world wouldn't be brought to the outside world. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. Lin Jun was stunned. Then he smiled. Fortunately, it's in the virtual world. Otherwise, Yor's punishment might not be so simple. It turns out that my bad deeds were exposed. The big screen on the street scrolled. Congratulations to Su Mingwe of China's Church of God's Grace for advancing. There is 1 spot left. Chapter 238. Lin Jun logged into the World War God Network, where he could exchange for gem fragments. Of course, he couldn't bring the gem fragments out of the virtual world, but the system had already calculated how many fragments each war god had. After entering his identity number, Lin Jun finally found the number of gems he had. After a crazy massacre on the riverbank, Lin Jun's gem number soared again. He currently had 1,850 ruby fragments, 174 sapphire fragments, and 55 topaz fragments. If these things were exchanged for astral tools, he would have 185 low-grade astral tools, 17 mid-grade astral tools, and 5 high-grade astral tools. Hello, Mr. Lin Jun. How may I help you? The customer service's sweet voice came. Can the gem fragments be converted into a decimal system? Lin Jun asked again. The so-called decimal system meant that 10 ruby fragments could be exchanged for 1 sapphire fragment, and 10 sapphire fragments could also be exchanged for topaz fragments. Yes, sir, you can exchange. Then exchange them for topaz fragments. Now, low-grade astral tools were not very useful to Lin Jun. What he needed was high-grade astral tools. In less than 5 seconds, the number of gem fragments Lin Jun had changed. The number of ruby fragments was 0, the number of sapphire fragments was 9, and the number of topaz fragments was 90. Looking at these 9 pieces of sapphire fragments, Lin Jun hesitated for a moment. These could only be converted into cash for 900 million. As far as Lin Jun was concerned, they were currently of no use. If they could be exchanged for a middle-grade astral tool, then they could be considered somewhat useful. However, they were just short of one. Can I buy a sapphire fragment with cash and exchange it for a mid-grade astral tool? No. Then can I add a low-grade astral tool and exchange it for a mid-grade one? Sorry, sir, you can't either. Lin Jun was helpless. Then give me 9 low-grade astral tools. Okay, the virtual system will choose for you 9 times. The probability of you choosing a low-grade offensive astral tool is 80%. The probability of you choosing a low-grade defensive astral tool is 19%, and the probability of you choosing a low-grade auxiliary astral tool is 1%. Do you want to choose manually or randomly? Let's choose randomly. Soon, a grid appeared in the dialog box. The light flickered for a while, and 9 low-grade astral tools appeared inside. Lin Jun glanced at it. There were 8 offensive astral weapons, 4 of which were swords, 2 sabers, 1 spear, and 1 staff. It was a defensive astral weapon, which was a heavy armor. Low-grade astral tool, exchange complete. Please enter your address, and the astral tool will be delivered very quickly. After Lin Jun left his address, he said to the customer service, "Help me exchange the yellow gem fragment into an astral tool." He had 90 yellow gem fragments, which could be exchanged for 9 high-grade astral tools. Okay, the virtual system will choose for you 9 times. The probability of you choosing a low-grade offensive astral weapon is 80%. The probability of you choosing a low-grade defensive astral weapon is 19%, and the probability of you choosing a low-grade auxiliary astral weapon is 1%. Do you want to choose manually or randomly? Choose it manually. Lin Jun did not want to be randomly chosen again. He wanted to test his luck. Okay, the astral tool turntable is ready. Sir, you can start. A huge turntable appeared in front of Lin Jun. There was a pointer in the center, and there were a total of 100 grids around it. In the uppermost grid, there was an auxiliary mental defense astral tool. In addition to this astral tool, the remaining 80 grids were all kinds of weapons, and 19 grids were some defensive astral tools. Lin Jun clicked and started to spin. The turntable spun a few times and finally fell on a long sword. Lin Jun shook his head slightly because after he drew one, the number of astral tools on the turntable changed and returned to 100. This time, Lin Jun did not look at the astral tools. He clicked and spun again. As a result, the effect was better this time. He obtained an astral soft armor. The soft armor was a vest-type defensive astral tool. It was very thin. Although it was not as strong as an armor-type defensive astral tool, it was lighter. It could not be seen when worn under clothes. Lin Jun was very satisfied with this astral tool. He could keep this thing. After obtaining the soft armor, Lin Jun drew an attack-type astral tool 5 times in a row. They were basically tools for star transposition in the future. On the 8th draw, Lin Jun obtained an astral tool long spear. The long spear was called Broken Jade. The spear was 1 meters long and weighed 900 kilograms. The huge spearhead had 2 blood grooves. Its whole body was black and had a simple and austere aura. A good spear is considered good among high-grade astral tools. It can be used to replace my Overlord spear. After obtaining the long spear and the astral soft armor, Lin Jun was satisfied. He casually clicked and spun the turntable one last time. After the turntable pointer spun for a while, it finally stopped at the top position. Congratulations to Mr. Lin Jun for obtaining the high-grade auxiliary astral tool, Thunder Lightwings. The draw is over. All the prizes will be delivered within 3 hours. After the draw was over, Lin Jun was still staring blankly at the auxiliary astral tool he obtained. It was a pair of huge bright silver wings that could be worn on the back. It had a certain defensive function. However, the biggest function of this thing was not defense but flight. Thunder Light Wings. It can absorb the power of light and thunder to upgrade. It is a flying auxiliary astral tool. It can increase the user's flying speed. It can also be contracted. Seeing this, Lin Jun almost wanted to look up to the sky and laugh. It's actually the Thunder Light Wings. The Thunder Light Wings is a treasure from Earth. It is the only treasure. It is a high-grade astral tool, but it can grow. It can absorb the power of thunder and light to upgrade. For me, this thing has unlimited potential. Those idiots from the War God Alliance. Because no one can inject the power of thunder and light into it, they don't know that it can grow. Therefore, when they defined this astral tool, they defined it as a high-grade astral tool according to its own state. But they didn't know that when this thing grows, theoretically speaking, it can even reach the speed of light. Lin Jun was so excited that he spun in circles on the ground. Ever since his rebirth, he had been able to remain calm in the face of many things. That was because he had seen and even possessed them in his previous life. However, he had only heard of the lightning wings in his previous life. The Thunder Light Wings also came from the Leonid meteor shower. After it fell to Earth, it passed through the hands of several people, but it was not treated as a treasure. It even appeared in an auction before it finally fell into the hands of a guest from an extraterrestrial civilization. That person finally advanced to the star stage and relied on the Thunder Light Wings to dominate for a period of time. His motto was, "I can come and go as I please. No one can stop me." However, even that person only grasped the power of light. Moreover, he did not have the power to resonate with light atoms. Even the sublight speed potential of the Thunder Light Wings was not stimulated. If he could grasp the power of thunder and light atoms, he could stimulate the speed of the Thunder Light Wings to the speed of light. At present, the Thunder Light Wings only increased the user's speed by a little. It was precisely because of this that it was defined as a high-grade astral tool. After waiting anxiously for more than an hour, all the astral tools had been delivered. After Lin Jun signed for them, he put away the rest of the astral tools. He wore the astral tool soft armor under his clothes, picked up the broken jade spear, and fiddled with it for a while before storing it in his interspatial ring. Finally, he took the Thunder Light Wings. This kind of retractable treasure, if it was not unfolded, even if it was placed on the back in 2 thin pieces, it would not be seen at all. Lin Jun's house was in a villa district. There were not many people living in the vicinity. He got up and went to a secluded place, wearing the Thunder Light Wings on his back. After wearing it, the Thunder Light Wings let out a buzzing sound and actually hid in Lin Jun's body. This treasure recognizes its master. Lin Jun's eyes widened. It must be known that whether it was a high-grade astral tool or a top-grade astral tool, it could not recognize its master. It could be said that it was a lifeless thing, and it could be used by anyone. In the interstellar, astral tools were known as standard weapons. Generally speaking, they were not unique. Only growth-type things had the possibility of recognizing its master. However, Lin Jun had rarely heard of anything that would take the initiative to recognize its master. Since the Thunder Light Wings took the initiative to recognize its master, then there was only one possibility. Lin Jun's attributes were too compatible with it. Growth-type, high-grade, astral tool. Although you are currently only a high-grade astral tool, I will definitely be able to cultivate you and let you accompany me forever. Lin Jun waved his arms twice and twisted his body. He could not feel the existence of the thunderlight wings at all. Only when he used his mental power to sweep across his back could he see a pair of wings hidden there. With a move of his mental power, the thunderlight wings directly appeared on his back. Not only did it not conflict with the astral tool soft armor, it also did not destroy Lin Jun's clothes. Open. The huge wings unfolded, each of them reaching 5 meters in length. They were as thin as a cicada's wing, yet incomparably tough. Stepping on the clouds, Lin Jun rose into the sky. The thunderlight wings on his back flapped a few times, and Lin Jun suddenly accelerated. Lin Jun circled above the villa at high speed, rising to a height of 1,000 meters. After flying for a while, he still felt that it was not too satisfying. This speed is indeed fast enough, but compared to a Star Realm expert, there is still a huge gap. I haven't even reached the speed of sound. Since it is the thunderlight wings, then I should be able to inject my lightning and radiance energy. I currently have control over 3 types of lightning and radiance elemental particles. They are lightning ions, lightning photons, and charged particles. Let me try the lightning ions first. With a thought, the dark star in Lin Jun's body revolved, and traces of energy began to enter the thunderlight wings. Lin Jun had already resonated with these 2 elements, and the lightning energy was like an extension of his body. With a move of his mental power, the thunderlight wings immediately received the support of the elemental energy. The lightning and radiance energy flickered on the thunderlight wings, and their speed instantly soared. Roar! Lin Jun did not expect it to be so fast. He could not control it for a moment, and actually charged directly from the sky to the ground. Chapter 239. After Lin Jun obtained the thunderlight wings, he left Bingqing the next day and headed towards Yilan County. Yilan County was no longer a threat to the current Lin Jun. Even if the rank A giant palm bear came in front of Lin Jun could easily kill it with one shot. The reason he came here was because there were no war gods here, so he could focus on researching the thunderlight wings in peace. 3 days later, on the top floor of Yilan shopping mall, Lin Jun returned to the place he stayed before and sat cross-legged on the rooftop. The thunderlight wings on his back spread out, and traces of the power of the lightning particles entered the thunderlight wings. The thunderlight wings were on Lin Jun's back, gently swaying with the wind. Crackling electric arcs jumped on it, which was the result of being nourished by the lightning particles. According to what I know from my previous life and my current research, I roughly understand that the thunderlight wings needs to be continuously nourished by elemental power to advance. Only when every elemental power is nourished to saturation can it advance. This advancement is a long process. According to my preliminary judgment, there are about 6 stages to the advancement of the thunderlight wings. First is its current state, which is its initial state. After 3 days of hard work, I have already injected some lightning particles into it, and its speed is already subsonic. As long as it can accelerate to twice the speed of sound, it can be considered to have entered the first stage. If I can fill it with the power of the lightning particles, let it reach saturation, and then inject the power of the charged particles, its speed could be increased to about 10 times the speed of sound, which is also the second stage. At that time, the thunderlight wings will be a top-quality astral tool. The speed of sound was 340 meters per second. If the thunderlight wings advanced to a top-quality astral tool, it could increase Lin Jun's speed by 3,400 meters per second. At that time, Lin Jun's flying speed could be on par with his Black Spectre. This should only be the second stage. If I complete the nourishment of the charged particles for the thunderlight wings and use the power of the lightning particles to break through, then it will continue to advance and reach a speed of 100 times the speed of sound. At that time, the thunderlight wings will break away from the category of astral tools and advance to the third stage, becoming an even higher level treasure. At 100 times the speed of sound, it would be 34,000 meters per second, which was a distance of 30 kilometers. At that time, it would be much faster than teleportation. Of course, teleportation also had its benefits. As Lin Jun's spiritual power continued to increase, the distance he could teleport would also increase. In the future, his potential would definitely be limitless, and he would also be relatively more flexible. After the third stage, if I can saturate the power of the lightning photons and make a breakthrough with the power of the light molecules, I will be able to reach 1,000 times the speed of sound, increasing my speed by 340,000 meters per second, which is 300 kilometers. That will be the fourth stage. The fifth stage should be when the light molecules are filled with energy and the lightning atoms will break through. At that time, the power of the lightning wings will be able to reach 10,000 times the speed of sound, which is also known as sublight speed. The speed increase per second will be 3 per million meters, which is more than 3,000 kilometers. The sixth stage should be when the power of the lightning atoms is filled to the brim, breaking through with the power of the light atoms. When it reaches the peak, it should be able to reach the speed of light, increasing its speed by 300,000 kilometers per second. When Lin Jun thought of the speed of light, he could not help but smile. Lin Jun had spent 3 days, and the lightning wings were still a little short of reaching the speed of sound. He did not know how long it would take to complete the first stage. It might take tens of thousands of years to complete the speed of light, but he still felt happy. He was not afraid of a long cultivation time, but he was afraid of no hope. As long as there was hope, Lin Jun felt that he could even meditate for 1,000 years. The dark star in his body slowly rotated, and traces of lightning ions flowed out and entered the lightning wings. This was a long process. After 3 days, Lin Jun finally felt that the lightning wings were showing signs of a small breakthrough. It was about to reach 1 time the speed of sound. I need to increase the output and try to make the lightning wings reach the speed of sound by today. After that, I will head to the 5 Dalian pools as soon as possible. There are still 3 pools that I have not explored. After figuring out the nourishment of the lightning wings, Lin Jun began to accelerate the output of the lightning ions. Anyway, with the dark star, as long as he did not use up all the lightning ions in one go, there would be an endless supply. At the edge of Alan County, a small team of martial artists was moving forward with difficulty. This was a standard team configuration. There were 3 beginner warlords and 2 level 9 warriors. The armored vehicle they were driving was parked at the edge of the county, and a few of them were moving forward on foot. After a tough battle, several mutant cicadeer fell at the feet of the team. However, the team members were also very tired. Phew, what's going on? During this period of time, the mutant beasts have become more and more violent. In the past, the cicadeer were definitely not so aggressive. I feel that they are about to advance. They don't seem like C-class mutant beasts anymore. I feel it too. In the past 2 months, I felt that the mutant beasts were a little abnormal. Could it be that the monsters are about to attack the city? There's no need to be afraid of an attack. Our ice city is now impregnable. Not only is the army strong, but there are also many super warlords. For example, Lin Jun of our Azure Sky Club. I think that as long as he is here, there will definitely be no problem. These martial artists all wore the badge of the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club on their chests, and their faces were full of pride. Since Lin Jun advanced a few days ago and won the first place on the massacre list in the preliminaries, the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club in Ice City had become popular again. These days, there was an endless stream of martial artists joining, and even some warlords had joined. Yang Jinning's face was full of joy. Recruiting Lin Jun was indeed the best decision. The original warriors and warlords of the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club also started to tremble. They felt superior when they walked outside. If Lin Jun could get a good result in the War God Arena, the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club might be able to surpass Lai Feng and become the #1 martial arts club in Ice City. There were 2 level 9 warriors in the team. Both of them had just graduated and joined the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club. One of them was more taciturn, and the other was more lively. Looking at the warlords discussing, his face showed envy. Seniors, how old do you think Senior Lin Jun is? I say, are you from Mars? There are posters all over the city now. Haven't you seen Lin Jun, the #1 on the massacre list? He is the youngest and the most handsome one. Ah, that is Lin Jun. I have been busy cultivating these days and didn't notice him. He looks very young. He should be about the same age as me. The student's face showed an expression of disbelief. How old are you this year? A warlord asked while smoking. I am 19. I think I will be able to break through to the warlord stage in half a year. This student was quite proud. 19 is not even a warlord yet. What is there to be proud of? Senior Lin Jun is only 20 years old, and he is already a level 5 warlord. This is unprecedented in the history of Ice City. Currently, only the Saintess of the Divine Sect can compete with Lin Jun. Level 5 warlord at 20 years old? Oh my god. Then he must not have compressed his Dantian Qi, right? Bullshit. If he didn't compress his Dantian Qi, how could he compete on the World War God Arena? Legend has it that Senior Lin Jun compressed his Dantian Qi by 10 times. The warlord stretched out his hand and gestured with his 5 fingers, which meant 10 times. This is unbelievable. Compressing his Dantian Qi takes a lot of time. How did he do it? The warrior couldn't believe it. That's why I said he's a genius. He'll definitely reach the Star Realm in the future. He's the hope of Bingsheng City. So, with Senior Lin Jun here, we don't have to worry about monsters attacking the city. We should focus on cultivating and earning money. With this golden signboard, no one will dare to provoke us even in the wilderness. Just as the few of them were discussing heatedly, a figure appeared on a small building nearby. After hearing them repeatedly talking about Lin Jun, this person couldn't hold back anymore. He jumped down from the building and said, "All of you, shut up." The few warlords were shocked. They hurriedly turned around and looked at the newcomer with their swords and sabers. The newcomer was a level 9 warlord. He held a long sword in his hand, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. "Ah, you are by phone." Someone recognized the warlord in front of them. Warlord-level experts rarely ventured into the wilderness. They would usually head to the various ancient god ruins to explore. However, By phone was different. He specialized in wandering around the wilderness, competing with these warlord and warrior-level squads for food. Many people scolded him behind his back. Although they scolded him, he didn't provoke the other warlords. The other warlords couldn't find trouble with him either. Even if these warlords were dissatisfied, they couldn't do anything to him. They could only say that he was shameless behind his back. The warlord who recognized Bai Feng stammered, "Senior Bai Feng, we didn't say anything bad about you." "Yes, you didn't say anything bad about me. However, you can't say anything good about Lin Jun." Bai Feng waved the sword in his hand angrily. "Who the hell is Lin Jun? He is a despicable man, a shameless thief. I have already investigated it. 3 years ago, Lin Jun stole the dark energy stone that I had painstakingly obtained in Ilan County. He even set up a trap to divert my attention. It was because of this dark energy stone that he was able to achieve what he has today. When I found out the results of my investigation, he had already entered the Divine General Training Camp. Now, he has advanced to the knockout round of the War God Arena. All these honors should have been mine. He is a thief." Looking at Bai Feng's agitated state, the few warlords didn't dare to speak. They were afraid that they would provoke this guy. If they were to be slashed by his sword, the loss would outweigh the gain. There were 2 warriors in the team. The more silent warrior suddenly burst out. "Nonsense. 3 years ago, you were also a warlord. At that time, Senior Lin Jun was just a warrior. How could he steal something from you? If it was stolen, it means that it doesn't belong to you. You are not allowed to insult my idol." Bai Feng was stunned for a moment. Then, he looked at the warrior and sneered. "Oh, you really have the guts. What's your name? You are speaking up for Lin Jun. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you?" "You wouldn't dare. My name is Wang Chung. My classmates call me Brother Chung. I am from Azure Sky. Senior Lin Jun is also from Azure Sky. Aren't you afraid that Senior Lin will deal with you?" The warrior was not afraid at all. "Bah, why would I be afraid of that despicable man? Fine, I will kill you today. Let's see if Lin Jun dares to seek revenge from me." As he spoke, Bai Feng raised his long sword and was about to attack. The rest of the people were scared silly. If Bai Feng attacked, they wouldn't dare to stop him. Chapter 240. Bai Feng wasn't the only one who saw it. Even the warriors from Jade Sky saw it. In the distant sky, a beam of light was rushing towards them at high speed. Fuck! It's a meteor! Run! A martial artist shouted, got up, and ran off into the distance. The rest of the people also ran away with their hands covering their heads. However, their hearts were filled with sorrow. No matter how fast they ran, they couldn't outrun a meteor. They were too unlucky and died unjustly. Bai Feng's heart was slightly calmer than the others. He was a 9th-grade war god and had compressed 3 layers of Dantian energy. Although the meteor was powerful, its speed wasn't that fast. As long as he avoided the center of the meteor's impact, he might be able to find a good meteorite. Bai Feng didn't have time to deal with Wang Cheng. He ran to a small building by the roadside and jumped onto it. However, the meteor was rushing towards him at extremely high speed. Its target was very clear. It was him. That's not a meteor. It's a person. Bai Feng shouted. He could vaguely see the person's face. It looked like Lin Jun. Moreover, Lin Jun was still saying something. Bai Feng instinctively raised his sword to meet the enemy. However, before he could raise his hand, his abdomen was hit hard. Ugh! Bai Feng arched his back like a prawn. At this moment, Lin Jun's voice rang in his ears. How dare you bully the people of Jade Sky? You're courting death. Bai Feng's body fell limply to the ground, but his mind was thinking about a question. Why was it that he had already seen Lin Jun open his mouth, but had only heard the other party's words when he was knocked down? Lin Jun didn't really remember Bai Feng. However, he didn't have a good impression of the war god in the wilderness. As a war god, it wasn't a big deal if he didn't explore the ruins of the ancient god and pursue a higher realm. However, he bullied warriors in the wilderness. This was very despicable. Normally, war gods would only form teams to hunt in the wilderness if there were S-class mutated beasts. As for A-class mutated beasts, they wouldn't be interested in them at all. There were plenty of them in the ruins of the ancient god. It was very rare to see someone like Bai Feng bullying warlords or even warriors. Lin Jun retracted the lightning wings on his back, and the flashy appearance from before disappeared. He turned to look at the few soldiers and warlords who were scared silly. Are you all from Jade Sky? Senior. Lin Jun. A few people stammered. Suddenly seeing a legendary figure here, they couldn't think straight for a moment. Lin Jun didn't refuse this title. Between martial artists, age didn't matter. What mattered was strength and realm. Lin Jun was the war god, so they should respectfully call him senior. Not to mention, Lin Jun's mental age was much older than theirs. Not to mention a few of them. Even Zhao Yang and the others should call Lin Jun senior when they saw him. However, everyone was very familiar with each other, and their relationship had reached a certain level, so it didn't matter what they called him. Lin Jun had just upgraded his lightning wings to the first stage, which was already able to increase his speed by 2 times the speed of sound. He was in a pretty good mood right now, so he smiled and said, How is it? Is the harvest here okay? Thank you for your concern, senior. It's okay. It's only the 2nd day after we came out, and each of us can already get hundreds of thousands of yuan when we go back, a warlord replied in fear and trepidation. Well, work hard. The harvest here should be okay, but don't be rash. If you find a Class B mutant beast, form a team to hunt it. Pay attention to cooperation. Remember to stay away from the Class A mutant beast nest. It's not something you can deal with. Senior, don't worry. We generally don't provoke Class B mutant beasts when we see one. Now, the main thing is to train the newcomers. When the 2 of them are promoted to warlords and everyone has a tacit understanding, we will hunt Class B mutant beasts. Very good. Keep it up. The future of Jade Sky Martial Arts Club still depends on you. As long as Senior is here, our Jade Sky Martial Arts Club will definitely be carried forward, the young level 9 soldier said excitedly. Obviously, he regarded Lin Jun as his idol. What's your name? Lin Jun asked. Senior, my name is Wang Cheng. The soldier replied excitedly when he saw his idol asking him a question. Hee, I seem to have heard you call yourself Brother Cheng just now. How about I call you Brother Cheng too? Lin Jun teased. No, I don't dare. I was just trying to boost my courage. Wang Cheng was a little embarrassed. It doesn't matter. It's just a title. I heard you defending me just now. It's rare for you to have such thoughts. This thing is for you. I hope you can make some progress." As Lin Jun spoke, he took out a low-grade astral weapon, a long sword from the space ring. This was only the worst of the low-grade astral tools that Lin Jun possessed, but as far as these soldiers were concerned, that certainly was a supreme treasure. Astral weapon. Several warriors were dumbfounded. This senior Lin Jun was too generous. He took out an astral weapon. Wang Cheng was just a soldier. Wouldn't it be inviting trouble if he took out an astral weapon? "Senior, this is too precious." "I'm afraid." Hearing Wang Cheng's words, Lin Jun also realized that his actions were a little inappropriate. Just like Li Tianhao, holding an astral weapon without strength would only invite trouble. However, it wasn't easy to take back something that was taken out. Lin Jun glanced around and grabbed Bai Feng, who was twitching a little from his beating. His eyes focused, and a soul lock was sent out. Lin Jun's soul lock was a shackle in the opponent's spiritual sea. There was no limit to the number of shackles that could be used, unless it was a spirit reader master who was more advanced than Lin Jun and was also proficient in the soul lock technique. Only then could it be undone. Currently, there weren't many people on Earth who could do it. Bai Feng had been beaten by Lin Jun to the point that he couldn't move. He was even more powerless to resist the soul lock and was easily hit. "Master!" Bai Feng opened his mouth. Lin Jun had given him the idea of a master and servant. For such a person, there was no need to be friends. "Listen, I should have taken your life. Now, there are people here who need protection. You will follow this team from now on and protect them secretly. Only act at the crucial moment, especially this Wang Cheng." "Master, don't worry. Bai Feng will definitely not disappoint you." "Good. When you return, you will join Azure Sky." Lin Jun gave him an order. Seeing how Lin Jun easily dealt with a 9th-grade war god, the people in this team were simply envious of Wang Cheng. He got an astral weapon just by saying a few good words, and he even got a 9th-grade war god as his bodyguard. If they had known earlier, they would have said more good things about Lin Jun. Unfortunately, things didn't have a chance to start over, so they could only envy. To Lin Jun, this was just a small matter. After finishing it, he wanted to leave immediately. However, Bai Feng said, "Master, there have been some changes in Elon's mutated beasts recently. They seem to have become more violent. According to my experience, a high-level mutated beast might appear soon." Lin Jun nodded silently. Calculating the time, it was less than half a year before the fall of Ice City. During that monster attack, wasn't there a high-level mutated beast behind command? However, no one would believe it even if he said it. Lin Jun's current strength wasn't enough to deal with a high-level mutated beast. He could only increase his strength as soon as possible. "I know. You guys be careful." Wang Cheng was so touched that his eyes were a little wet. He didn't know how to repay Lin Jun. He excitedly rummaged through his backpack and finally found a book. "Senior Lin Jun, this is a miscellaneous book that I took from the internet. There are some interesting questions in it, but I couldn't understand them. So, I'll get it to you." Lin Jun took the book and glanced at it. The name of the book was On Laser Weapons and Warriors' Elemental Power, which is stronger. Lin Jun smiled. Was there need to ask? Laser weapons were not so easy to develop. Even if they were developed in the future, they wouldn't be very useful. Not to mention the limited power, warriors could also dodge and resist according to various conditions. After all, they were also controlled by humans. There were too many weaknesses to be found. But since it was a little gift from Wang Cheng, Lin Jun accepted it. Nodding to Wang Cheng, Lin Jun lifted his leg and went into the sky. A black ghost appeared and directly entered the cabin. The aircraft disappeared in a blink of an eye. Wang Cheng silently looked at the sky and secretly swore that he must set Lin Jun as his goal and become a warrior that people looked up to. After Lin Jun left Elan, he didn't immediately go to Wadalian Lake. Until now, the Ministry of Science and Technology hadn't announced the secret of the poisonous insect crystal. Lin Jun still had some time. Moreover, he still had a lot of A-rank mutated beast crystals. It should be enough for him to cultivate to the peak of rank 6. The problem he was thinking about now was, what should he do if he met Halaf at the War God Arena? Even if he had the lightning wings to increase his speed, it wouldn't be that effective in front of Holof's gravitational field. After all, the War God Arena was only an arena and not a huge space for him to use freely. In his previous life, Lin Jun had met experts with gravitational fields in the universe. There were a few ways to deal with gravitational fields. The simplest was to suppress the opponent with strength. As long as your strength, speed, and Dantian Qi surpassed the opponent, you would be able to break through the gravitational field. However, Lin Jun hadn't reached that level yet. There was another method that was even more ridiculous. It required the warrior to control a stronger gravitational field and suppress the opponent. Lin Jun couldn't do it. The most reliable way for a weak person to defeat a strong person's gravitational field was to master a powerful attack. Using the sharpest attack, one could break through the gravitational field and break through it forcefully, just like how Lin Jun broke through the barrier of the spatial crack. Lin Jun currently had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. The power of lightning and light were his unique skills. His mental power was also top-notch, but it was useless against Holof. His lightning river had been trained to the 4th level, and it was easy for him to deal with ordinary war gods. However, in terms of his strongest attack, he didn't have it yet. Waterfall could be considered as one, but it wasn't powerful enough. The Black Spectre spewed out a cloud of mist, hovering above it so that it wouldn't be discovered by others. Lin Jun sat on top of the Black Spectre, and the wind and clouds passed by him. The lightning wings on his back flapped gently, and the power of the lightning ions continued to nourish it. He held his phone in his hand and browsed through the items for sale on the internet. The focus was on spear techniques, but he didn't find the 5th level of the 9-layer spear river. If I had the secret manual for the 5th level of the spear river, which is the river flipping, then I would be able to break through Holof's gravitational field. Unfortunately, there isn't any 5th level for sale right now. If I can't break through the gravitational field, even if I become an advanced level war god in the 5 Dalian pools, I will still lose to Holof in the war god arena. Unless I have a powerful attack, one move would be enough. I currently possess light and electricity, 2 similar elemental powers, but I am unable to truly fuse the 2 elements together to form an explosive attack. The reason why I was able to break the spatial barrier back then was that the barrier had already weakened due to the repeated cracks. How can I fuse the 2 elements together? Lin Jun lay on the Black Spectre and lightly flapped his lightning wings. After thinking for a while, he looked through his spatial ring out of boredom. Chapter 241. Picking up Wang Cheng's book, Lin Jun casually flipped through it. However, there was a passage in the book that attracted Lin Jun's attention. Currently, it is widely believed that laser weapons are unable to fight against a warrior's elemental energy. However, I believe that laser weapons still have their unique advantages. If elemental energy can be used in laser weapons, it will be able to shoot out all kinds of elemental energy guns and energy cannons. Don't talk about hitting people, it won't be a problem to hit flying saucers. On the other hand, if a warrior's elemental energy is used according to the principle of laser, it will be able to unleash an extremely powerful force. After that, there is a long list of professional knowledge about the principle of laser and elemental energy which dazzled one's eyes. Reading up to this point, Lin Jun suddenly had an idea. Elemental fusion attack. Light and electricity are elements that are close to strength. If they're used together, it will be very difficult to produce an explosive attack. Moreover, I have mastered 2 types of electricity elements, but only 1 type of light element. They're not balanced. If I only rely on a combination of lightning ions and charged particles to attack, I will have the speed, but the power will be much weaker. I will need to add in lightning photons. However, this way, the lightning energy will be strong while the light energy will be weak. Unless I can master the power of light particles and achieve a balance between the 2, there will be room for an explosive attack. This involves the problem of elemental fusion and exertion. Unless I add in a 3rd type of element and let them react with each other, I will definitely be able to form a powerful explosive attack with my Dantian Qi. What should I do? Lin Jun silently sat on the Black Spectre. It was already dusk, but he didn't move at all. Only the lightning wings were still slowly flapping. Yangming's mental power slowly sank into his body and wandered around his limbs and bones. Within his dantian chi was surging like a tide. As a fifth-grade war god, his dantian chi was already very powerful. Moreover, it was gradually condensing into a cyclone, although the process was very long. As long as the cyclone was condensed, he would be at the quasi-star realm. Above the ocean-like dantian chi, a dark star was floating. If this place was a world, then the dark star seemed to have been there since the beginning of time. Inside it was dark energy, dark matter, lightning energy, and radiant energy. There were also traces of cold air. Of course, it was also emitting traces of attractive force. Lin Zhen's mental power stopped above the dark star. He saw the trace of cold air. Oh right, how could I have overlooked this? When I was in Jiaodong, when I was condensing the dark star, I absorbed too much of the power of the blizzard to form it. Since then, it has been injected into the dark star and has always been there. Furthermore, as the dark star evolves, it has become much stronger. Right now, my light energy is weak. If I want to make the photoelectric attack lack a theoretical basis, I can only rely on a third element to make up for it. Isn't this cold current the third element? Although it is almost impossible for me to truly control it in a short period of time, I can completely wrap it in the power of light and achieve a conflicting effect. In any case, the cold current is also within the dark star. I can completely guide and use it. Thinking of this, Lin Zhen immediately stood up. With a flap of his lightning wings, his body rose into the sky and entered the clouds. Lin Zhen had always been a man of action. If he wanted to do something, he would do it. He stood above the clouds, and the dark star in his body began to revolve. The power of light and electricity surged out from the dark star, and a trace of cold air was wrapped in it. However, for the first time, Lin Zhen was unable to bring it out of his dantian. The cold air surged within the light and electricity, and it was not of the same element. Moreover, the cold air did not resonate with Lin Zhen and was not very controlled. After losing the dark star as a carrier, it twisted a few times and dissipated into the sea of qi in his dantian. Lin Zhen did not believe it and was much more careful the second time. This time, he brought out a trace of the cold air. However, it only took a few more steps than the previous time before it dissipated. This won't do. The power control is not uniform enough, and the protection is not dense enough. The power of light and electricity must form a balance with the cold air. Only then will it not shatter and dissipate. This time, Lin Zhen was much more cautious. He began to try using a small amount of light and electricity to wrap around the cold air. The first failed, the second failed. Failure 10 times. Failure 100 times. Gradually, the night of the ice city descended once again. The surrounding sky gradually darkened. Only Lin Zhen was still above the clouds. The thunderlight wings continuously flapped. It was as if the wings of an angel had descended into the night. Lin Zhen did not know how many times he had experimented, but he finally grasped the correct way to bring out a bit of cold air. At this time, the time was already midnight. A ball of light and electricity energy appeared in Lin Zhen's hand. It was like a star in the night sky. He gently raised his palm. That energy ball seemed to be flowing in his palm. This energy ball contained half of the power of lightning, a quarter of the power of light, and a quarter of the cold air. However, this kind of energy ball could only be used at close range. Its lethality was not particularly great. If Lin Zhen wanted it to be truly lethal, he still needed to release it through attacking methods. Lin Zhen raised his hand, and the broken jade spear appeared in his hand. I haven't used this astral tool spear yet. Let's use it for an experiment today. Lin Zhen's dantian chi revolved, and the energy ball's power was immediately attached to the spear. Stab! Lin Zhen thrust out his spear. The energy was only halfway through when it dissipated in the air. It's still not enough. It's still a bit lacking. I need to be more decisive. Lin Zhen's mental power once again entered his dantian. He used the same method as before to create an energy ball. Once again, he attached the energy ball to the spear and tried to stab again. The result was still a failure. one experiment after another. Soon, it was almost dawn. Lin Jun did not know how many times he had failed. He still could not figure out the method of joint attack. This is no longer a problem of not being proficient. It's just that my control of the elements is not enough. If I don't resonate with the cold air, this kind of joint attack method will be very difficult to use. Lin Jun once again sat cross-legged on the clouds. He looked up at the starry sky, looking for his mistakes. From time to time, he would stand up and brandish his spear. His energy would overflow in all directions, causing the clouds in the sky to become chaotic. Fortunately, it was night in the wilderness, so no one could discover him. From time to time, he would sit down again. He would use the flapping of the thunderlight wings to not fall down from the clouds. He would scratch his head and study it. Why can't I concentrate my energy? Astral tools can guide energy. Don't tell me it's because I care too much about the moves. It should be. The energy explosion is not a spear art. However, it can erupt with a greater power. When using it, I must pay attention to the state of mind. Right now, I'm impatient. I'm afraid I can't find the true essence. Lin Jun calmed down. His soul force was abnormally strong. He could easily calm his mind. He forced his floating heart to calm down. The chaotic sea of clouds in the surroundings also gradually returned to its original state. After an unknown amount of time, a ray of white appeared in the east. The white gradually turned into a reddish color. The sun was about to come out. Gradually, a ray of light finally broke through the sea of clouds, bringing along a golden rainbow across the sky. When it appeared, it was covered by the clouds again and disappeared. However, this ray of light shone on Lin Jun's face. Phew, I got it. Laser. Laser is an energy beam. Previously, I was too concerned about the explosion of energy. However, I neglected the fact that the greatest power can only be displayed when the energy is concentrated. Only when the energy is concentrated to a point can the energy be displayed to the greatest extent. Lin Jun stood up. First, he took a few deep breaths. The thunderlight wings on his back flapped a few times, and he soared freely in the clouds for a while. After the thunderlight wings reached the speed of sound, Lin Jun could fly more than 300 meters, close to 400 meters per second. This speed was already incomparably fast on the ground. However, in the clouds, this distance did not seem very fast. Swish, swish, swish. Lin Jun once again arrived in the sky above the Black Spectre. At this time, dawn was breaking. It was the best time of the day. The energy in the sky was also abundant. He felt that his condition had never been better. His mental power once again entered his dantian and entered the dark star. According to the proportion that he had calculated previously, Lin Jun easily created an energy ball. This energy ball was about the size of a basketball. Radiant charged particles and lightning energy surged within it, accompanied by rolling cold air. At a glance, one could tell that it contained a huge amount of energy. With a flap of the thunderlight wings, Lin Jun suddenly soared to a higher altitude. Accelerate, accelerate, accelerate. The power of the lightning particles flickered on the thunderlight wings. Lin Jun was like a divine eagle soaring in the darkness before dawn, passing through the sea of clouds. The clouds surged around him, and the energy ball was in his hand. Holding the broken jade spear in one hand, Lin Jun suddenly added energy to it. Come, let me give it a try. This is the first time I've created a cultivation technique by myself in my previous life. This is something that belongs to me alone. Lin Jun's speed had already soared to the limit. The wind whistled past his ears as he headed straight for the east. With a shake of the broken jade spear in his hand, an arc of electricity erupted from his palm. This was a vast sea of clouds. Lin Jun didn't have a specific target in front of him, but in his heart, the sky in front of him was his target. Erupt. Look at my combined attack. With a single point breaking the surface, it will definitely be able to break Holof's gravitational field. The spear swept up the dark clouds. Lin Jun stabbed out. At this time, the morning sun in the east finally rushed out of the sea of clouds. A ray of golden light illuminated the horizon, painting the dark clouds with a layer of golden light. And under Lin Jun's spear, a small sun bloomed. A ray of golden energy shot out, piercing through the layers of clouds and straight into the sky. It was comparable to the sunlight. Chapter 242. Looking at the stream of light disappearing into the horizon, Lin Jun stood in the air in a daze. His heart was filled with excitement. Success. With his unremitting efforts, Lin Jun finally created a combat skill that belonged solely to him. He even saw a crack in the space after the spear was shot out. One had to know that this wasn't the space inside the stellar fruit tree that had been broken and loosened many times. The spatial crack here was extremely stable. In Lin Jun's previous life, only those peak Star Realm and Star Realm experts had the ability to tear space apart. For a level 5 war god like him to be able to launch this kind of attack, it could be said that he was the only one. This attack that combines lightning, light, and freezing air should have a unique name. Let's call it Thunderkill. After all, half of the energy is lightning, and the other quarter is charge particles. It deserves the name. He had just learned this move and wasn't familiar with it yet. There were still many areas that needed to be perfected. Lin Jun was like a miner who had found a treasure. He didn't leave the sky for the next few days. He repeatedly experimented, from gathering energy to using it, and how to save energy and use it faster. This practice took him another 3 days before he completely grasped the powerful attack of Thunderkill. I should go to the 5 Dalian Lake now. The War God Arena's knockout competition is in less than 3 months. I need to increase my realm before that to be more competitive in the War God Arena. After all, I still don't know the strength of the experts from other countries. If a hidden expert were to appear, it would be easy for me to lose due to my low realm. After entering the Black Wraith, Lin Jun flew toward the 5 Dalian Lake. It was still the same guard. Lin Jun paid the 1 million entrance fee to enter. The shattered landscape of the Dragon Gate Stone stronghold entered his eyes. This time, Lin Jun didn't stay here. He flapped his lightning wings and flew toward the distant volcanic lake at a speed of nearly 400 meters per second. 2 minutes later, Lin Jun arrived at the place where Yin Mountain Lake and White Dragon Lake were connected. Yin Mountain Lake was the second lake of the 5 Dalian Lake, and White Dragon Lake was the third lake. The lake's surface area was very large. The top of the lake was covered in fog, and visibility was very low. Looking at the mist above the lake, Lin Jun didn't dare to continue flying and landed. During the Common Era, there was a legend that there was a white dragon in White Dragon Lake. However, after the exploration of the extraterrestrial civilization, there was no dragon here. All the creatures in the lake were white anacondas. These anacondas were huge creatures to begin with, and their bodies contained highly toxic toxins. Because they were relatively strong before they mutated, although they did not reach the level of S rank after the mutation, they were much stronger than the average A rank mutant beast. Whether it was mutated beasts or mutated poisonous insects, there was a threshold between A and S rank. For example, some creatures that were already powerful before they mutated would form a unique group. Their crystallization was stronger than a rank, but not as strong as S rank. These creatures were classified as quasi-S rank, just like how there was a quasi-star realm between war gods and star realm. Absorbing these quasi-S grade crystals could allow an advanced level war god to reach the quasi-star realm. Although Lin Jun didn't need this kind of crystal at the moment, he still wanted to see the situation of the White Dragon Lake. As far as he knew, there was a special meteorite at the bottom of the White Dragon Lake called the Tyrant Body. This meteorite contained a large amount of life energy that could strengthen a warrior's body. Under the condition that the warrior's level didn't change, he would have stronger strength and faster reaction speed. If the spirit meteorite was the most valuable treasure of a spirit reader master, then the Tyrant Body meteorite was something that almost every warrior dreamed of. Lin Jun didn't obtain the Strength Star Crystal and Speed Star Crystal from the Starfruit Tree, which made him feel slightly regretful. However, those two things added together were far less precious than the Tyrant Body meteorite. I have to get this Tyrant Body meteorite. Strength isn't my strong suit, and this will be very disadvantageous in future battles. If I get this meteorite, I won't have any weaknesses in close combat. Not all battles need to rely on strange moves to win. Strength, speed, and reaction speed are the foundation of a warrior. Without strength, good battle skills can't be used well. However, when Lin Jun arrived at the edge of the White Dragon Lake, he felt a strong, pungent smell. Not good. This fog is poisonous. Lin Jun hurriedly retreated. He only felt that the rolling fog in front of him made him feel a little dizzy. Although he retreated, Lin Jun's clothes were still stained with some of the fog. A black fog appeared on them, and Lin Jun watched helplessly as it rotted. Lin Jun opened the spirit shield and went deeper. However, the spirit shield trembled slightly under the corrosion of the poisonous fog. The consumption of spirit power instantly increased by dozens of times. What a tyrannical poison. Let me see what's here. Lin Jun hurriedly removed the spirit shield, shook off his sleeves, and picked up the broken jade spear. He raised his hand and shot out a thunder-killing light beam. The light beam was like electric light, and it went straight into the lake. Wherever the light beam passed, the fog dispersed slightly and immediately closed again. Through the place where the light beam passed, Lin Jun saw 2 or 3 rolling white pythons. They were sticking their heads out of the water as if they were breathing on the water. I understand now. This is the poisonous gas spat out by the white anacondas. After a long time, it actually enveloped the entire White Dragon Lake. If I want to enter the White Dragon Lake, I have to get rid of the fog here. Lin Jun slowly paced around the lake, thinking of a way to detoxify the poison in his heart. Martial artists could hold their breath, but in this highly poisonous environment, even their skin could be easily corroded by the poisonous gas. Holding one's breath was definitely not a long-term solution. Not to mention, there were quasi-S-rank anacondas everywhere in the lake. They would have to fight if they went down, and it was almost impossible to find a meteorite in such an environment. Some of the antidotes on the market were basically ineffective against this thick fog. Looks like I have to make a move on the 4th Crane Lake. Lin Jun's thoughts went to the 4th Crane Lake. It was said that the Crane Lake used to be the habitat of red-crowned cranes. However, it was impossible to have any red-crowned cranes now. Even if there were, they would have become mutated birds that devoured flesh. It was said that the poisonous insects in the Crane Lake were S-rank. They were huge mutated poisonous scorpions. Not only could these poisonous scorpions live on land, but they could also live in the water. They even had wings and could fly. After they mutated, they had sharp teeth, huge pincers, and their tails had spikes that were sharper than spears. They were also highly poisonous. In addition to their thick shells, they had almost no weaknesses. As S-rank mutated poisonous insects, these poisonous scorpions that could live on land, sea, and air were almost a martial artist's nightmare. Fortunately, the poisonous insects in the ancient god ruins would not spread to the outside world. Otherwise, if these poisonous scorpions were released on a large scale, Bingcheng Bay City would have become history long ago. In a legendary team of super warlords that had come to explore the 5 Dalian lakes, it was said that each member was at the peak of warlord level. There were even a few quasi-star masters who had worked together for many years and were extremely powerful. They had passed through the poisonous fog of the White Dragon Lake and reached the Crane Lake. However, out of the 10 super warlords, only one managed to escape from the Crane Lake. He was killed by the poisonous scorpions. Even a quasi-star master would not be able to resist a group of S-rank mutated beasts. Ordinary star masters would probably have to take a detour. The reason Lin Jun wanted to go to the Crane Lake was because of a special meteorite at the bottom of the lake. Cinnabar Rock. In his previous life, the Cinnabar Rock was also obtained by an extraterrestrial civilization. It was said that the meteorite was blood red, just like cinnabar. After absorbing it, the human body would produce strong antibodies, making them immune to all kinds of poisons. As long as he obtained the Cinnabar Rock, it would not be difficult to come to the White Dragon Lake and break through the poisonous fog. However, Lin Jun had a headache when he thought about it. With his current strength, he could not even break through the poisonous fog of the White Dragon Lake. Even if he activated the protective shield, used the thunder wings, and teleported, he might be able to pass through quickly. However, what could he do once he reached the Crane Lake? Did he have to fight the group of mutated poisonous scorpions that could live on land, sea, and air alone? As soon as he thought about the overwhelming number of S-rank mutated beasts, Lin Jun shook his head. That was definitely not something he could deal with at the moment. If he did not go to the Crane Lake, he would not be able to obtain the Cinnabar Rock, and he would not be able to break through the poisonous fog. If he could not break through the poisonous fog, he would not be able to obtain the Tyrant Stone. This seemed to have become a dead knot, and Lin Jun was temporarily at a loss. Forget it. Let's not think about it for now. I will cultivate at the 5-Dalian Lake. There is still a lot of A-rank mutated beast crystals here. I will think about it after I reach the peak of the 6th rank. Lin Jun did not attempt to break through the White Dragon Lake again. Instead, he returned to the Yin Mountain Lake area and started hunting rampaging crabs. Although A-rank rampaging crabs were very strong, Lin Jun did not attract too many of them each time. He relied on the speed of the Thunder Wings to kill them one by one, and then took out their crystals. Every time he obtained 10 crystals, Lin Jun would mix the crystals with medicine to form a crystal that could replace the Dark Energy Stone. Now that he had advanced to the 5th rank War God, the speed at which he absorbed A-rank crystals was much faster. Every time he absorbed 10 crystals, the sea of energy in Lin Jun's Dantian would expand by a little. After 4 days in the 5-Dalian Lake, Lin Jun advanced from the early 5th rank to the mid-5th rank. After 10 days, Lin Jun advanced from the mid-5th rank to the late 5th rank. In half a month, Lin Jun had absorbed close to 1,000 crystals and advanced from the late 5th rank to the peak 5th rank. This is really fast. In less than a week, I will probably advance to the 6th rank War God. When I reach the peak 6th rank, I will think of a way to break through the poisonous fog and dive to the bottom of the lake. It is better to obtain the Tyrant Stone first. After all, there are S-rank mutated beasts near the Stone of Execution, so it is not realistic to obtain it. 20 days had passed since the War God Arena's preliminaries, and 2 major events had happened in the world. The first event was that the Amazon base city in Brazil was attacked by a powerful mutated beast. A giant anaconda with a length of 100 meters appeared. That thing actually broke through the limit of the S-rank monsters on land and reached the SS rank. Under its lead, countless high-level mutated beasts swarmed over. The Brazilians had no way to resist, and not even a single Star Realm expert could stop the anaconda. Because the War God Alliance was not fully formed, and there were no war gods to rescue them, the Amazon base city fell. Chapter 243. After research, it was proven that mutated poisonous bug crystals and certain drugs would release energy and replace dark energy stones for war gods to absorb. Rank B mutated poisonous bug crystals could be absorbed by beginner-level war gods. Rank A mutated poisonous bug crystals could be absorbed by intermediate-level war gods. Quasi-S rank crystals could be absorbed by advanced-level war gods. Rank B mutated poisonous bug crystals could be absorbed by quasi-star level war gods. This news caused an uproar as soon as it was released. It was even more popular than the news of Amazon being attacked by mutated beasts. One must know that dark energy stones were always in short supply. No matter how much you had, it would never be enough. Most war gods still had to train step by step to level up. Even if some resources were listed on the market, they would be sold out immediately. Now that this news was released, all ancient god ruins with mutated poisonous bugs were in high demand. Many war gods chose to go to ancient god ruins nearby in hopes of getting mutated bug crystals. Wadalian Lake also had a local price. The original 1 million entrance fee was now 100 times higher. One had to pay 100 million to enter. Although many war gods were unhappy with this, there were still many people who came. Even if they had to borrow money, they didn't mind. Money was nothing. As long as they had power, money wasn't a problem. Wadalian Lake was the only ancient god ruin in the northern region where large amounts of mutated poisonous bugs could be found. Not only would war gods from Bing City come, even some war gods from the capital would come. Once the news was released, Tong Yuehu received a call from Yu Jianhua. Because he was eliminated in the preliminaries, Tong Yuehu had been a bit scared of Yu Jianhua recently. After receiving Yu Jianhua's call, he said nervously, "President, did you see the news released by the Ministry of Science and Technology?" Yu Jianhua asked. "I saw it. There's hope for war gods to level up this time. What's the situation at Wadalian Lake?" "President, there are a total of 5 volcanic lakes at Wadalian Lake. Each one is harder to explore than the last. The first 2 volcanic lakes are called Lotus Lake and Yinshan Lake. There are rank A mutated poisonous bugs everywhere. The third volcanic lake is called White Dragon Lake. Apparently, the mutated poisonous bugs, they're quasi-S rank." Yu Jianhua didn't say anything and continued to listen to Tong Yuehu's introduction. After White Dragon Lake, the fourth lake is called Crane Lake. Apparently, the bugs there are rank S mutated poisonous bugs. If you can get a rank S mutated poisonous bug crystal, you can use it to quasi-star level war gods. Yu Jianhua nodded. "What about the fifth lake?" "The fifth lake is called Rui Lake, but previous exploration teams have only explored the fourth lake at most. There are S-class mutant poisonous insects everywhere. So far, no one has explored the fifth lake, so we don't know what it is like. There are S-class mutated poisonous insects in Crane Lake." Yu Jianhua pondered for a moment, then said to Tong Yuo, "I heard that Linjun went to a Dalian pond." "Ah, that's right." Tong Yuehu was enlightened. No wonder Linjun advanced so quickly. He must have discovered the secret of the 5 Dalian pond. That was why he advanced from a 3rd-grade war god to a 5th-grade war god in just 3 months. Yu Jianhua continued. "There are still 3 months before the semi-finals of the war god arena. Regardless of whether it is to help me break through to the Star Realm or to find a chance to kill Linjun, I have to personally make a trip to Wadalian Pond. Does the Pavilion Master want to come here?" Tong Yuehu asked. "Yes, I will be there tomorrow. I will bring 1 person and you can find 2 more. We will form a small team and enter the 5 Dalian Pond together. We warmly welcome the Pavilion Master." Tong Yuehu promised like a soldier. Yu Jianhua arrived very quickly. The next day, when the sun had just risen, his aircraft landed in the courtyard of the Lai Feng Martial Arts School in I City. Tong Yuehu was already prepared to welcome him. He brought Ma Yao and Wei Li, the 2 generals, to the door to welcome him. The cabin door of the aircraft opened, and Yu Jianhua walked out. Beside him was a warrior that Tong Yuehu and the others had seen before. He was also a participant of the War God Arena. His name was Yi Lu, a member of the Lai Feng Martial Arts School in the capital Bay City. Yi Lu was a peak 9th-grade war god. It seemed that he was not far from the Star Realm. He followed behind Yu Jianhua. When he saw Tong Yuehu and the others, he only raised his eyebrows slightly. He seemed very arrogant. Tong Yuehu came to Yu Jianhua's side and said, "Head Pavilion Master, according to your request, our people are ready. Me, Ma Yao, and Wei Li are the 3 of us." "Yes, very good. At least there are no mediocre people. Me and Yi Lu are the 2 of us. The 5 of us are a small team. It's best to enter the ancient god ruins as a small team. At least it's justifiable for us to fight." Yes. Pavilion Master, you are very considerate. Then shall we leave now?" "We can depart now. Last night, I specially researched the situation of the 5 Dalian pools and made a lot of preparations. This time, we must obtain a large amount of quasi-S rank crystals and let a large amount of advanced level war gods in Gale evolve. We can't lose the title of the number 1 dojo. After the donation incident last time, the Lai Feng Martial Arts School's reputation had been damaged. Some people even said that the Lai Feng Martial Arts School would no longer be the number 1 martial arts school. Yu Jianhua was very nervous. He didn't dare to do anything funny. Martial arts schools must be strong to be able to convince the public. He had high hopes for this trip to the 5 Dalian Pond. As long as he could obtain a large amount of quasi-S grade crystals, then he would be able to speak confidently in front of Chun Feng Lai and keep his position as the Pavilion Master. Tong Yuehu agreed. He brought Ma Yao and Wei Li and was about to leave with Yu Jianhua. When they turned around, Yu Jianhua turned around and asked, "Where is Linjun?" Tong Yuehu paused for a moment. During this period of time, he really didn't know where Linjun was. He was stunned by Yu Jianhua's question. "Trash. Yu Jinhua snorted and turned around to board the aircraft. He Lu followed closely behind. Tong Yuehu originally thought that he was Bing City's pavilion master and should be the second in line, but he was blocked by He Lu. Tong Yuehu was not someone to be trifled with. He wanted to push He Lu aside, but when the two of them bumped into each other, Tong Yuehu actually fell down. He Lu looked at Tong Yuehu and snorted. Thank goodness you were eliminated in the preliminary round. Otherwise, you would have embarrassed Lai Feng in the knockout round. Useless trash. Tong Yuehu looked at He Lu in disbelief as he boarded the aircraft. He couldn't believe that there was such a huge gap between him and He Lu, who were both ninth-grade war gods. Yu Jinhua turned around and glanced at Tong Yuehu. I say, old Tong, you actually dare to compete with He Lu? He is the future hope of the Zephyr Academy. Even Mr. Qin Fenglai has seen He Lu and praised him for his boundless future. When I reach the Star Realm, He Lu will be the head of the Zephyr Academy, which means he will be your superior. Right now, even I don't dare to say that I can beat him. Tong Yuehu looked at He Lu with a shocked expression. So, he was a great god, the future pavilion master of Lai Feng. Mr. He, I just... Tong Yuehu stuttered and wanted to apologize. He Lu snorted coldly. Stop talking nonsense. If you want to leave, then leave quickly. Yes, we will leave immediately. Tong Yuehu didn't dare to say anything else. He boarded Yu Jinhua's aircraft with Ma Yao and Wei Li. The aircraft took off and left Bing City Bay City, heading straight for Wadalian Lake. When they saw the thick smoke that covered the sky and descended from the 5-Dalian pond, they discovered that many war gods had already arrived. The guard who had been guarding Wadalian Lake was very busy. Ever since the Ministry of Science and Technology announced the news, Bing City's war gods had flocked here. Even the capital had many people. Even though the entrance fee had increased by 100 times, it still couldn't stop the war god's enthusiasm. Since yesterday, he had received thousands of war gods and earned more than 100 billion. Because of this, the Warriors Union had specially sent people to support him, which made him feel a little relieved. Yu Jinhua didn't dare to cut the line here. He could only wait with Tong Yuehu and the others. After waiting for more than 2 hours, it was finally their turn. Tong Yuehu took the initiative to pay the entrance fee of 500 million. The guard took the money and said, "It's another 500 million. I have to say that you people don't have any foresight. There was a young lad who came here twice, and each time he only spent 1 million to enter. As long as he knows how to collect crystals, he's going to make a killing." Yu Jinhua stopped and asked, "What's that person's name?" "This is confidential. I can't tell you." Yu Jinhua asked again, "Is his name Lin Jun?" The guard was stunned. Yu Jinhua had guessed correctly. This kid knows how to pick a place. The Ministry of Science and Technology had just announced the Wadalian Lake, and he knew about it a few months in advance. I knew he would come here again, but it's good that he's here. We can solve everything at once. Wadalian Lake will be his burial ground. Yu Jinhua led the way in front. He Lu and the others followed and entered the tunnel. After passing through the smoke-filled tunnel, they arrived at the Dragon Gate Stone Village. Yu Jinhua looked back at the tunnel and said to He Lu, "Lin Jun can teleport, but he can't pass through the smoke-filled area of Wadalian Lake. You stay at the entrance of the tunnel. Don't let him teleport away." He Lu nodded slightly. "Don't worry, Dojo Master. I'm here to stop Lin Jun. Don't be fooled by the fact that he got first place in the Carnage leaderboard during the preliminaries. Many people didn't even show their strength during the preliminaries. I know. You can even fight Hollof." Yu Jinhua patted He Lu's shoulder. He was very confident in him. He Lu stayed at the entrance of the Dragon Gate Stone Village to prevent Lin Jun from escaping. Yu Jinhua turned his head and looked at Tong Yuehu and the other two. "Let's go. We'll head straight to the volcanic lake. I have a feeling that Lin Jun is definitely there." Tong Yuehu and the others immediately agreed and followed Yu Jinhua to the volcanic lake. There were many other Ice City war gods around, but no one dared to provoke Yu Jinhua's group. After all, they were quasi-star realms. Chapter 244. Beside Yin Mountain Lake, Lin Jun was meditating with his legs crossed. The lightning wings were fluttering behind his back. After 20 days of nourishment, the lightning wings had become much stronger. Currently, it could travel at twice the speed of sound. Lin Jun didn't even need to use his mental energy to fly. The lightning wings could reach 680 meters per second. This morning, he had finally broken through to the 6th grade War God realm. Within his Dantian, the Dantian Qi was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. It started to flow slowly and gradually formed a Dantian Qi vortex. The Dantian Qi has started to flow on its own. When I reach the peak of level 9, it will truly form a Qi vortex. I feel that my strength has become much stronger. However, I still haven't figured out a way to enter the White Dragon Lake. Then, I will continue to cultivate. Since level A crystals are easily obtainable, I will continue to cultivate until I reach the peak of level 6. Lin Jun adjusted his breathing and meditated for a while. The Dantian Qi in his body gradually calmed down and stabilized at level 6 War God. After circulating his energy for a cycle, Lin Jun was about to get up and move around to collect more crystals. Suddenly, he felt a sense of uneasiness. What's going on? A spirit reader master didn't only have sharp 5 senses. Their 6th sense was also very strong. Lin Jun felt uneasy, which meant that danger was approaching. After standing up and moving a few steps, Lin Jun raised his eyes and looked into the distance. He saw people flying towards him at high speed. For people, 2 spirit reader masters and 2 war gods. Who are they? Looking carefully, Lin Jun's eyesight was very good. He quickly discovered who it was. Yu Jianhua. Lin Jun saw Yu Jianhua at first glance. His uneasiness came from Yu Jianhua. Tong Yuehu, Ma Yao, and Wei Li couldn't pose any real threat to Lin Jun. The battle with Yu Jianhua, when he left the stellar fruit tree, was still vivid in his mind. Even though Lin Jun was a level 6 war god, he was still a little weaker than a quasi-star. What is this old man doing here? Could it be that they were here specifically for me? You really value me. Although he knew that he was no match for Yu Jianhua, Lin Jun didn't want to run away without a fight. He had fought with Yu Jianhua when he was a 3rd grade war god. Now that he was a 6th grade war god, if he ran away without saying a word, he would look down on himself. Standing by Swallow Mountain Lake, Lin Jun watched as Yu Jianhua's group of 4 arrived in front of him. Yu Jianhua and the other 3 landed in front of Lin Jun. Yu Jianhua didn't say anything after he landed, but he looked at Lin Jun from head to toe for a while. Then, he said with a gloomy voice, I came at the right time. A few months ago, you were still a 3rd grade war god. Now you have advanced to the 6th grade. If I came back in a year or so, you would have become a 9th grade war god. I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to get rid of me now. Lin Jun sneered. Ha ha ha. Lin Jun, don't be too arrogant. When we were at the stellar fruit tree, I purposely let you fall under the fruit tree. I wanted you to die in front of that stinky girl and avenge my son. But I didn't expect you to play a trick and run away. If I wanted to kill you that day, you would have been a corpse by now. Then you could try it today. I guarantee that you won't be able to kill me. Lin Jun raised his hand, and the broken jade spear appeared in his hand. You have changed your bird gun into a cannon. No wonder you are so confident. But it's useless. Lin Jun, you will die today. Yu Jianhua also raised his hand and took out a high-grade astral longsword. A high-grade astral armor appeared on his body. In order to deal with Lin Jun, who was always stingy, changed his equipment. Following Yu Jianhua's actions, Tong Yuehu and the other 2 also revealed their weapons and armors. They were ready to attack Lin Jun. Bang! Lin Jun shook his broken jade spear and pointed it at Tong Yuehu and the others. You guys are helping the tyrant. You're determined to deal with me, with Yu Jianhua. Don't blame me for being impolite today. Cut the crap. Let's go. Yu Jianhua roared and was the first to pounce on Lin Jun. Lin Jun had become his obsession. If he didn't get rid of Lin Jun, he wouldn't even be able to advance to the Star Realm. He even had a feeling that as long as he could get rid of Lin Jun, he might be able to advance immediately. This was because his strength was already at the edge of the Star Realm. He was just 1 step away. Tong Yuehu and the other 2 also attacked from 3 other directions. Lin Jun saw Yu Jianhua's simple sword attack and immediately swung his spear. He was as immovable as a mountain. Seeing Lin Jun use this move again, Yu Jianhua sneered. Even if you can resist my attack, can you resist from 3 other directions at the same time? I'll leave you here today." Thinking of this, he suddenly exerted force in his hand, wanting to attract Lin Jun's full defense. However, the moment he increased his force, Lin Jun moved. Immovable as a mountain was only used to confuse Yu Jinhua. As long as he increased his force, he wouldn't have time to interrupt his teleportation. The spear's shadow was still there, but Lin Jun's body disappeared. He appeared directly behind Wei Li. The spear shook and stabbed. Wei Li's soul almost left his body. He wanted to turn around, but it was too late. He heard Yu Jinhua roar, "Lower your head." Wei Li didn't dare to disobey. He didn't care that Lin Jun was behind him and immediately lowered his head. At the same time, Yu Jinhua's mental attack was launched. As long as Lin Jun killed Wei Li, he wouldn't be able to dodge the mental attack. However, he didn't expect that Lin Jun's plan to kill Wei Li was just a feint. When he raised his spear, he used teleportation again. This time, his real goal was to appear directly behind Tong Yuehu. Tong Yuehu controlled the Fierce Wind Dojo in Ice City and opposed Lin Jun everywhere. If he didn't get rid of him, Lin Jun wouldn't be at ease. This series of actions was for this surprise attack. At this moment, Lin Jun had already raised his spear. Even if Yu Jinhua used his mental attack, it would be too late. Die! Tong Yuehu was still looking in Wei Li's direction. He didn't expect Lin Jun's target to be him. He didn't have time to dodge and was ruthlessly stabbed in the back by Lin Jun. His heart was shattered. Tong Yuehu didn't even have the chance to make a sound. He died on the spot. After killing Tong Yuehu in one blow, Yu Jinhua almost went crazy with anger. He didn't expect Lin Jun to be so cunning. His telekinetic teleportation was indeed a killer weapon. It appeared and disappeared unpredictably. If he wasn't careful, he would be able to take advantage of a gap. If this continued, Ma Yao and Wei Li might also be killed by a sneak attack. "The two of you, get out of my way. Leave Lin Jun to me." When Ma Yao and Wei Li saw Tong Yuehu's tragic death, they didn't have much intention to fight with Lin Jun. When they heard Yu Jinhua's order, they immediately ran to the side. Lin Jun also didn't have the intention to chase after the two of them. Facing Yu Jinhua, he used Immovable Mountain this time. When fighting with Yu Jinhua, teleportation was useless. Lin Jun also didn't want to dodge. He wanted to use his strength to fight with Yu Jinhua. This time, Yu Jinhua was completely shocked. Lin Jun's strength had improved too much. The first time he faced him, he had almost no resistance. Although he was still at disadvantage, he could attack and defend. Yu Jinhua couldn't take him down in a short time. How can this be? If I let him grow up, it'll be terrible. Today, I must eliminate him. Yu Jinhua's killing intent was aroused, and he immediately cast the Hurricane Art again. Seeing Yu Jinhua use this move again, Lin Jun knew that things couldn't be done. Although he still had Thunderkill's ultimate move, that was his trump card. If the attack missed, Yu Jinhua's counterattack would be fatal. Furthermore, the possibility of missing in one attack was still very high. After all, that move was known for its power and couldn't guarantee a hit. Lin Jun secretly sighed in his heart. Looks like he still couldn't fight Yu Jinhua to the end today. Better leave 5 Dalian pools first. Taking advantage of the other party's hurricane hadn't risen yet, Lin Jun's lightning light wings suddenly appeared behind him. "Yu Jinhua, you play here by yourself. I want to accompany you." The lightning light wings flashed. Lin Jun got up and ran. In a moment of carelessness, Yu Jinhua saw Lin Jun run far away in the blink of an eye. He immediately roared, "Lin Jun, today, even if you run to the ends of the earth, I will eliminate you." As a peak quasi-star realm and a late-stage dark gold spirit reader, Yu Jinhua already had 1 foot in the door of the star realm. His flying speed was already much faster than Lin Jun's. Moreover, Yu Jinhua's wind power was originally an ability to increase speed. If Lin Jun didn't have the lightning light wings, his flying speed would be far inferior to Yu Jinhua's. However, with the support of the lightning light wings, Yu Jinhua could barely keep up with Lin Jun. He couldn't catch up in a short time. The gap between the two of them wasn't particularly large, but he just couldn't catch up. Seeing Lin Jun running towards the exit of 5 Dalian pools, Yu Jinhua shouted, "He Lu, Stop him for me. Lu had been waiting here for a long time. Seeing Lin Jun rushing towards him, although he was very shocked by Lin Jun's speed, he didn't move. Instead, he raised his hand, and a huge metal wall completely blocked the mountain tunnel. Lin Jun was about to reach the tunnel entrance. He used teleportation to escape, but the result was that he fiercely crashed into the metal wall. Ha ha ha! Lin Jun, this metal wall is a high-grade astral tool. Your teleportation won't be able to pass through. It's better for you to obediently stay here. As Lu spoke, he raised his hand, and two long swords appeared in his hands. He charged towards Lin Jun to kill him. Lin Jun was a little dizzy from the collision. However, he still relied on the lightning light wings to balance his body and fight with Lu in the air. After fighting, he realized that not only was Lu a 9th-level war god, but he had also completed an 8th-level compression. At the same time, he also had a mid-grade astral tool for spiritual defense and a high-grade astral tool for physical defense. Moreover, this person also had the ability to control flames. When they fought, the flames would overflow the sky. It was very troublesome. Seeing that Yu Jinhua took advantage of this time to catch up, a hurricane surged behind him and rushed towards Lin Jun to kill him. The surrounding warriors who were watching the fight all hid far away. No one dared to come over and participate. Lin Jun saw that the situation wasn't good. With this person blocking the way, he couldn't leave 5 Dalian pools. Chapter 245. Since he couldn't get out, Lin Jun quickly made up his mind. There was only one way to shake off Yu Jinhua's pursuit. Enter the poisonous fog area. Lin Jun had studied the poisonous fog area for a long time. The White Dragon Lake was about 10 kilometers wide. If Lin Jun wanted to pass through, he could do so in 15 seconds with the speed of the lightning wings. Lin Jun had tested how long the spirit shield could last in the poisonous fog, and it only lasted for 20 seconds. At that time, the lightning wing speed of sound wasn't enough to support Lin Jun through the poisonous fog area. Now, after 20 days of nourishment, the lightning wings had reached twice the speed of sound. This speed was enough for him to pass through. After passing through the poisonous fog area, he would arrive at the Crane Lake area. Lin Jun didn't believe that Yu Jinhua could still chase after him. Although he didn't know the situation at the Crane Lake, Lin Jun believed that the poisonous scorpions wouldn't fly everywhere. As long as he had a place to stay, he could slowly cultivate. After all, he had collected a large number of Grade A mutated crystals in his spatial ring. It was enough for Lin Jun to cultivate to the peak of Grade 6. After making up his mind, Lin Jun and Yu Jinhua flew back and forth, while Lu continued to block the entrance of the mountain tunnel. Yu Jinhua's body was surrounded by green wind, and his speed had been pushed to the limit. He had always had absolute confidence in his speed. Yu Jinhua dared to compete with an ordinary Star Realm expert in speed. However, he didn't expect that he couldn't catch up to Lin Jun. The distance between the two was still so far. This kid is really lucky. He actually got a treasure that can help him fly. But it's nothing. The poisonous fog area of the White Dragon Lake is right in front of us. Let's see where you can escape then. Ma Yao and Wei Li saw Lin Jun and Yu Jinhua flying back from afar. They were so scared that they hid in the distance and didn't dare to approach. They didn't want to participate in their battle at all. Lin Jun didn't care about the two of them. As he approached the poisonous fog area of the White Dragon Lake, a golden light flashed on his body, and a spirit shield covered the surface of his body. Yu Jinhua, if you have the ability, try chasing after her again. The thunder light wings flapped and lightning particles surged. Lin Jun charged into the poisonous fog. Yu Jinhua was about to go crazy. He roared, "Lin Jun, it's useless even if you run to the ends of the earth. Today, you will definitely die." The hurricane around Yu Jinhua's body also surged fiercely, forming a hurricane around him. It actually forced back the poisonous fog, and Yu Jinhua also plunged into the poisonous fog area. They were like two fighter jets flying through the sea of clouds. The two of them whizzed forward, and the poisonous fog rolled. Lin Jun could only feel his mental power rapidly depleting. The poisonous fog was as thick as a viscous liquid. If not for the protection of his mental power barrier, he would have been a skeleton flying in the air. However, The Thunderlight wings were indeed a good treasure. As they beat, they blew away a lot of the poisonous fog, allowing Lin Jun to move forward smoothly. Yu Jinhua, who was behind him, was having a hard time. Although the poisonous fog was blown away by the wind, the consumption of Yu Jinhua's energy had increased tenfold. Not good. How can this poisonous fog be so tyrannical? If this continues, I definitely won't be able to fly out of the poisonous fog area. Yu Jinhua hesitated when he saw Lin Jun charging forward without any regard for his life. So what if he rushed out of the poisonous fog area? There were groups of S-rank, mutated poisonous scorpions there. Wouldn't he be courting death if he went there? It was true that he wanted to kill Lin Jun to avenge his son, but nothing was more important than his own life. Just as Chun Fenlai had told him, as long as he could advance to the Star Realm, it wouldn't be a problem for him to have 100 sons in the long years to come, let alone one, as long as he was still alive. Therefore, Yu Jinhua retreated in the end. While he still had the strength to retreat, he turned around and left the poisonous fog area, returning to Swallow Mountain Lake. Lin Jun, you little bastard. If you have the ability, don't come out forever. I will stay here until the War God Arena knockout competition starts. At that time, you will only have 3 possibilities. 1. You will be corroded by the poisonous fog. 2. You will be eaten by the poisonous scorpions, or you won't have time to participate in the competition. Ha ha, let's see what you can do. Yu Jinhua laughed arrogantly like a madman. At this moment, avenging his son was secondary. He had to see Lin Jun die a horrible death. Only then would his path to the Star Realm be smooth. Ma Yao and Wei Li were dragged over by Yu Jinhua. Their daily task was to cook and collect crystals. He Lu was responsible for guarding the exit of the mountain tunnel to prevent Lin Jun from escaping. Yu Jinhua stayed at the border between Swallow Mountain Lake and White Dragon Lake, waiting for Lin Jun to come out every day. He planned to waste his time with Lin Jun. The Zephyr Dojo's dojo master personally chased after Lin Jun and intercepted Lin Jun at White Dragon Lake. He even said that he would kill Lin Jun. The genius of the generation might not be able to participate in the War God Arena knockout competition. Yu Jinhua disregarded his status and attacked. Lin Jun's fate is worrying. Lin Jun killed Tong Yuehu at White Dragon Lake. The Zephyr Dojo and the Zephyr Dojo are irreconcilable enemies. Fresh reports were published one after another, attracting the attention of countless people. Yu Jinhua had shed all pretense of cordiality and attacked. Even if Lin Jun didn't die, it would be difficult for him to participate in the War God Arena's knockout competition. According to the rules of the War God Arena, the knockout competition was based on drawing lots. If a participant couldn't participate, then his opponent would directly advance. There was no need to fight. If Lin Jun couldn't participate, then he would be eliminated in the first round. Many people felt that it was a pity. Many people also scolded Yu Jinhua for ignoring the country's honor for his own personal gain. Of course, there were also many people who supported Yu Jinhua. After all, he was the Zephyr Dojo's dojo master. His status was very high. In addition, his son had indeed died at the hands of Lin Jun. It was natural for him to avenge his son. Many people in Huaxia were debating about this matter. However, there were many people overseas who raised their hands in celebration, especially in Russia. Many people were celebrating that Lin Jun, who had consecutively eliminated the 3 Russian warriors, was finally unlucky. Not only was he unable to advance, but he might even lose his life. When Holov saw this report, he slammed the table fiercely. Lin Jun, if you're eliminated just like this, then you're really lucky. Otherwise, I'll tear you to pieces in front of the entire world. When America's Doak saw Lin Jun's situation, he also sighed. Another interesting opponent has been eliminated. India's Shahan and Omar looked at each other and smiled. Looks like another strong opponent has been eliminated. Our India's ranking might rise by 1 because of this. When the African Alliance and Brazilian War gods saw this, they either rejoiced in India's misfortune or sighed. They sighed that they couldn't fight against a famous person like Lin Jun. In the European Union, in the Mediterranean training camp, Chris, who had already begun her devilish training, saw Lin Jun's news. She bit her red lips and looked to the east. Linjun, you have to be strong. Don't give up. Before you lose to me, you can't lose to anyone. On the distant moon, beside a crater, Su Mingwe, who was using her internal energy to adjust her breathing, suddenly opened her eyes. I feel so sad. My light energy is making my heart palpitate. Is that the effect of the life star crystal? I miss him. What happened to him? Seeing that Su Mingwe was distracted, Gongsun Du beside her said, You heir, what are you doing? You have to hurry up and train. If you want to get a good result in the War God arena, you have to break through to Advanced War God as soon as possible. Do you think everyone has the chance to be like you and leave Earth to train on the moon? Su Mingwe helplessly closed her eyes and trained. She silently prayed for Lin Jun in her heart. Lin Jun didn't know anything about the outside world. He finally rushed out of the poisonous fog within 14 seconds. The spiritual energy shield on his body was close to exhaustion. Even with his late-stage dark gold spiritual energy, it was extremely difficult for him to rush through the poisonous fog. If it wasn't for the lightning wings, he wouldn't even be able to think about it. After rushing out of the poisonous fog, Lin Jun removed the spiritual energy shield and looked forward. Below his feet was the edge of White Dragon Lake and Crane Lake. In front of him, there was a vast expanse of blue waves. It was a little different from the previous 3 lakes. The air here also seemed to be much better. Crane Lake was like a huge sapphire. The lake rippled slightly between the mountains and the lake. The surrounding climate was pleasant, and the air was humid and warm. The thick fog in the sky was like a cover, shrouding this place into a paradise. Lin Jun slowly moved his feet and walked in the direction of Crane Lake. Just as he was less than 500 meters away from Crane Lake, a black shadow suddenly rose into the sky in front of him. It fiercely rushed toward Lin Jun. It was a poisonous scorpion the size of a small car. It had a pair of wings on its ribs and a thick carapace on its body. It waved 2 huge pincers. Its long tail was like a hook, flickering with a faint light in the air. In the blink of an eye, the poisonous scorpion was already in front of him. S-Class mutated poisonous scorpion. Lin Jun brandished the broken jade spear and resisted the poisonous scorpion's pincers. Clang! With a loud sound, Lin Jun staggered back. The difference in strength between the 2 sides was huge. The poisonous scorpion's tail stretched out nearly 10 meters and fiercely stabbed at Lin Jun's head. Teleport! Lin Jun flashed 100 meters away. He was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. He seemed to be able to feel that the Grim Reaper had just brushed past him. Before he could stand firm, the poisonous scorpion actually pounced in front of him again. Its speed was unbelievable. Lin Jun's figure flashed and teleported again. This time, Lin Jun had experience. After teleporting, the lightning wings flapped and immediately rushed into the distance. The poisonous scorpion was still chasing after him. In a few seconds, he flew thousands of meters away. He was already far away from Crane Lake and was about to enter the erupting volcanic area. Only then did the poisonous scorpion flap its wings and return to Crane Lake. It did not continue to chase after Lin Jun. Good fellow, this thing really has a territorial consciousness. This is already a characteristic that only S-Class mutated beasts have. As long as it goes out to the outside world, this thing can be called a king. Lin Jun vaguely saw that when the poisonous scorpion landed, another group of poisonous scorpions flew up from the water surface. It was as if they were welcoming the victorious return of the scorpion. It's still a group. This thing is too difficult to deal with. Lin Jun did not go to the edge of Crane Lake. As for the 5th volcanic lake, Rui Lake, which was further away, he did not have the slightest intention to go there. He set his goal at the edge of an erupting volcano not far away. Burning Mountain, Chapter 246. The Burning Mountain was located between the Crane Lake and Rui Lake volcanoes, about 10 kilometers apart. There was a natural barrier of smoke and fire, as well as the poisonous fog from the White Dragon Lake, so it was basically impossible for people to come here. He didn't know what kind of medicine this burning mountain had eaten, but it had been erupting for countless years. It was as if the lava from the Earth's core had been gushing up endlessly. It could be said that the burning mountain accounted for most of the credit for the formation of the ancient god ruins. Looking from afar, the sky was filled with thick smoke. Bolts of lightning flashed across the sky from time to time. The fiery lava with thick volcanic ash was like a natural chimney, spraying garbage into the sky. Lin Zhen walked up a few steps, then slowly stopped. In my previous life, the special meteorites in the 5 volcanoes of the 5 Dalian Lake were all obtained by the extraterrestrial civilization, so the 5 Dalian Lake became famous. However, there was a legend about the Burning Mountain. The reason why the Burning Mountain erupts all year round to form the ancient god ruins is because when the Leonids meteor shower descended, a meteorite pierced through the Earth's crust, causing the lava in the Earth's core to surge upwards, forming an almost never-ending volcano. But later, I checked the information, and no meteorite had the ability to break through the Earth's crust. There must be another reason for the volcano to erupt for a long time. Lin Zhen's memory appeared one by one. When the extraterrestrial civilization had almost taken over the world, the Burning Mountain had undergone a mutation. An unknown creature rushed out of the mountain. Under the situation where the Earth was almost completely sealed off by the extraterrestrial civilization, it actually rushed into space. Along the way, it burned down 2 interstellar battleships with raging flames, causing great losses to the extraterrestrial civilization. After burning the interstellar battleships, the creature left. It wasn't an Earthling, so it didn't have the consciousness to resist invasion. Later, people finally reached a consensus that there was a galactic beast in the Burning Mountain. The so-called galactic beast was a beast that lived in the universe. When it matured, its potential was almost limitless. When the galactic beast was born, it had the strength of the star realm, and as it matured, it could even reach the comet stage when it was young. Once it entered the growth period, its strength would increase by leaps and bounds. When it first entered the growth period, it would have the strength of the star realm. When it matured, this thing could even reach the strength of a star domain stage cultivator. It could be said to be blessed by the heavens. In the beginning, Lin Zhen did not include the galactic beast in his plan. Even if it was born not long ago, it was not something that he could fight against right now. But since he was already there, Lin Zhen wanted to take a look. He wanted to see what the legendary galactic beast looked like. After all, no one had ever seen the true face of the galactic beast in the Burning Mountain. However, after arriving at the foot of the mountain, Lin Zhen didn't rush up the mountain. Instead, he stayed at the foot of the mountain. He decided to cultivate here first. As for the galactic beasts, that was too far away. Strength was the only thing that mattered. Lin Zhen stopped at the foot of the mountain and took out the crystal from his interspatial ring. He had already collected a lot of crystals. Advancing to the pinnacle of level 6 would not be a problem. He just needed some time. First, he settled down in a secluded place. Then, Lin Zhen began to recover his mental power. He had lost a lot of mental power when he passed through the poisonous fog. He needed some time to recover. The lightning wings fluttered behind him again. The power of the lightning ions continued to nourish it. This kind of thing needed constant nourishment to advance. It was only 2 times the speed of sound now. There was still a long way to go before it reached the second stage. In the following days, Lin Zhen was completely immersed in his cultivation. When he was tired, he would lie down and rest for a while or meditate. When he was hungry, Lin Zhen had crabs in his interspatial ring. He could eat some crab meat. There were many lava rocks in the Burning Mountain. Many of them were still hot. Lin Zhen used gravity to grab a piece of crab meat. The crab meat was easily cooked. After removing the shell, it tasted pretty good. The days passed like this. Lin Zhen was like a savage. In the blink of an eye, 2.5 months had passed since he entered the 5 Dalian Pond. At this time, it had been almost 4 years since Lin Zhen's rebirth. Another winter had arrived. The outside world was changing. Since the secret of the poisonous crystals was exposed, many war gods had improved a lot, especially those who participated in the war god arena. These people were the best among the war gods. At this time, they had all improved by leaps and bounds. Pogba from the African Alliance was originally an 8th level war god. Now, he had advanced to a 9th level war god. He teamed up with another African Alliance war god. The two of them worked together to kill the S-grade mutated lion that attacked Cape Town headquarters city. When they brought back the 3 heads of the S-grade mutated lion, the African alliance was shocked. The other war god said that he did not contribute much. The killing of the S-grade mutated beast was mainly done by Pogba. This made people think that Pogba's strength was close to Holof's. He might even be able to win the war god arena. After that, it was revealed that Brazil's Rio de Janeiro headquarters city, Sanji, had personally killed an S-grade anaconda in the rainforest. This made people even more shocked. This was killing an S-grade mutated beast by himself. He was comparable to Holof. Then, news came one after another. India's Omar and Shehan teamed up and killed an S-grade mutated beast in the suburbs of Mumbai. America's war god Doak went to the wilderness and killed an S-grade mutated beast, Puma. He was aiming for the war god arena's champion. China's Tang Wenbo and China's Feng Ni killed S-grade mutated beasts, South China Tiger and Northwest Wolf King respectively. They became China's rising stars. Then came the European Union's war god, Ire, who killed an S-grade mutated beast, Brown Bear. Originally, people were numb to the news of killing S-grade mutated beasts. Then came the European Union's war god, Crazy, who killed an S-grade mutated beast, Great White Shark, in the Mediterranean Sea. This shook the world violently. The Great White Shark was not an ordinary S-grade mutated beast. In the sea, it was extremely powerful. It was not comparable to the S-grade mutated beasts on land. This made Crazy the favorite to win the war god arena. People were even more shocked by her talent. One must know that she was only 20 years old. Just as many people were saying that Holof had no chance of winning the war god arena, he posted a photo in the North Pole. Under the northern lights, 3 S-grade mutated beast corpses lay at his feet. They were a mutated polar bear, a mutated tiger shark, and a mutated walrus. Holof even said, "What you guys are playing with are my leftovers. I have already advanced to the quasi-star state. The war god arena is mine. No one can take it away from me." Holof's advancement to the quasi-star state caused an uproar. Weren't quasi-star state cultivators not allowed to participate in the war god arena? When people questioned this, the World War God Alliance gave them an answer. When the war god arena was registering for the war god arena, quasi-star state cultivators were indeed not allowed to participate. However, they could make breakthroughs during the war god arena. They could not disqualify a war god just because he had broken through. Currently, the World War God Alliance only consisted of the European Union, Russia, and America. They could do whatever they wanted. Later on, there was a continuous stream of news that people like Doak from the United States and Air from the European Union had already advanced to the quasi-star state. It was obvious that this was the result of the discussion between the 3 parties, and the others could only accept it. Among the contestants, only divine sex saintess Su Mingyue and Lin Jun were relatively low-key. Su Mingyue had disappeared for more than 2 months and only reappeared a week before the start of the War God Arena. No one knew where she had gone. They only felt that Su Mingyue had become increasingly indifferent, pure, and beautiful. However, no one knew how strong she was, and no one had seen her in action. Only Lin Jun remained unheard of. Lin Jun had been blocked by Yu Jinhua at Wadalian Lake for 2 months. There was no news of him at all. It was as if he had vanished in a thin air. At Wadalian Lake, many war gods were also paying attention to Yu Jinhua's situation while collecting crystals. Yu Jinhua brought Ma Yao and Wei Li to the edge of White Dragon Lake's poisonous fog. During this time, he was on the verge of a breakthrough. He felt that he could enter the star realm at any time. However, he couldn't break through no matter what. There was a stifling feeling in his chest that made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Only by getting rid of Lin Jun could his depression dissipate. He ate, drank, and cultivated every day. Yu Jinhua anxiously waited for Lin Jun to appear. It wasn't just him. Many people were paying attention to Lin Jun's fate. They didn't know if this genius still had a chance to participate in the War God Arena. In Lin Jun's home, his father Lin Jun and mother Li Qin were both level 5 warriors. However, they weren't in the mood to cultivate these days. They were waiting for news of their son. Under the burning mountain, a person covered in a thick layer of dust that no longer resembled a human moved. Crack! A piece of dust fell off. Then, more dust fell. Lin Jun shook his head and stood up shakily. Phew, this place is really dirty. If I don't move for a day, my entire body will be covered in dust. Compared to this place, the stellar fruit tree is like heaven. Lin Jun clenched his fist. The lightning wings on his back flapped twice, dispersing the dust. This is so satisfying. After 2 months of bitter cultivation, not only did I break through to level 6 War God, but after using all the dark energy stones that I collected, I unexpectedly reached mid-level 7 War God. I'm also an advanced level War God. With a flap of the lightning wings, Lin Jun's body rose into the sky. At this moment, his mental energy had improved again. Previously, he was at late-level Dark Gold. Now he was close to peak-level Dark Gold. Furthermore, the lightning wings had improved again. Currently, it was 3 times the speed of sound. It could fly 10-20 meters per second, which was basically 1 kilometer per second. Yu Jinhua, if you dare to chase me again, I can guarantee that you won't even be able to see my taillights. However, I believe that you won't have the chance to chase me anymore. The current me is definitely not afraid of you. After flying 2 rounds in the sky at high speed, Lin Jun looked left and right. There was still a week before the War God Arena began. He now had a few choices. He could go to Crane Lake and challenge Scorpion. He could also go back and deal with Eugenwa. He could also go to Burning Mountain to see the galactic beast that he had never seen before. Chapter 247. Rumble. A large cloud of lava rose from the volcano along with thick smoke. Lin Jun watched from the side as he gently flapped his lightning wings. His body hovered in the air as he activated his mental power barrier. He had already observed 4 or 5 eruptions and discovered that the volcano would erupt violently once every 2 hours before gradually weakening. After calculating the time, Lin Jun felt that the volcano's power was gradually weakening. He flapped his lightning wings and rushed down through the thick smoke. He didn't dare to let the lightning wings accelerate too much. It would be disastrous if he suddenly rushed into the lava. After entering the volcano, an unimaginably hot wave of heat assaulted his face. The consumption of his mental power suddenly increased. However, Lin Jun's mental power was at the peak of late Dark Gold rank. He could still withstand this heat wave for 5 minutes. The fiery red lava below was surging like a bottomless abyss that swallowed everything. He looked around and found that his surroundings were like a round barrel. He couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. Could the galactic beast be hiding in the depths of the lava? If that was the case, Lin Jun really couldn't find it. No, it definitely couldn't be at the bottom of the lava. It must be hiding somewhere. Flapping his lightning wings, Lin Jun began to descend from the volcano's crater. He gradually approached the lava area. The lower he went, the more unbearable the heat became. Lin Jun's mental power was further consumed. If it weren't for the protective barrier, he would definitely have burned up. The distance between the volcano's crater and the lava was about 1,500 meters. After descending to a depth of about 1,000 meters, Lin Jun stopped when he was less than 500 meters away from the boiling lava. Approaching the volcano's mountain wall, Lin Jun began to fly along the mountain wall. Relying on a speed of 1,000 meters per second, Lin Jun didn't discover anything after descending for 50 meters. He took a deep breath and descended another 30 meters, but he still didn't find anything. The scorching heat wave assaulted him. Lin Jun felt that his mental power was a bit strained. He flapped his lightning wings and flew out of the volcano. He circulated his energy outside to recover his mental power. When the volcano erupted again, Lin Jun once again dove into the volcano and continued his exploration. Previously, he had explored to a depth of 1,080 meters. This time, Lin Jun descended to 1,150 meters. After finding nothing, he flew up again. On his 3rd attempt, Lin Jun explored to 1,220 meters. On his 4th attempt, 1,300 meters. On his fifth attempt, 1,350 meters. By the sixth time, Lin Jun had reached 1,400 meters. He finally made a discovery. About 50 meters further down, almost above the magma, there was a slanted downward cave, as if a meteorite had crashed into it. Lin Jun's eyes lit up. If this cave was really created by a meteorite, then the galactic beast must be inside. However, Lin Jun's spiritual power was still insufficient. After he rose into the air again, he adjusted his breathing and made another preparation. He took out the liquid metal and covered it with the cold air of the dark star to replace the mental power shield. Then, he dove into the volcano again. With this layer of protection, Lin Jun was finally able to sneak into the cave that was close to the lava. The cave wasn't deep. After walking for about 20 meters, he almost reached the end. But strangely, there was no lava pouring into the cave. When a volcano erupted, the lava would surge up. Logically speaking, it would pour into the cave, but he didn't know why. Lin Jun held the broken jade spear in his hand and was fully prepared. If the galactic beast turned out to be ferocious, he would teleport away immediately. But when he saw what was in the cave, he was completely stunned. What is this? Inside the cave, there was something that was not much bigger than a pug lying there. It didn't seem to notice Lin Jun's arrival at all. Its body was covered with a layer of golden fur. There was a mane around its neck like a lion's, and it was slightly wet. It had small claws, a big mouth, and big eyes. It seemed to have double eyelids. A Pekingese? Lin Jun scratched his head. Was this a galactic beast? Could it be some kind of mutated creature from the volcano? Looking left and right, Lin Jun found a few broken eggshells on the ground. The eggshells were wrapped in rocks, proving that they had indeed come from the eggshells inside the meteorite. Eggshells? Was this thing oviparous? Was it not a dog? How long ago was it born? Just as Lin Jun was thinking, the Pekingese opened its eyes. When it saw Lin Jun, the dog opened its eyes and bared its teeth. Although the 2 rows of teeth were not big, a powerful aura came from it. The power of a star realm. A galactic beast. Lin Jun teleported out of the cave and flew into the sky. After flying for a few hundred meters, Lin Jun turned back, but he didn't see the dog chasing after him. Lin Jun wanted to escape, but he didn't want to give up. This little guy seemed to be very weak. It should have been born not long ago and hadn't eaten anything. It shouldn't be that strong. Unwilling to give up, Lin Jun turned back and mustered up his courage to enter the cave again. When the dog saw Lin Jun, it opened its eyes and snorted twice. Although Lin Jun was a little surprised, he didn't feel any malicious intent from this little guy. He slowly approached it. Maybe it was because of its cute appearance. Lin Jun walked over and squatted down 3 meters away from it, ready to teleport at any time. This time, he looked carefully and found that the eggshell didn't seem to have been broken for a long time. The eggshell was so red that it looked like it was burning. That was because it had absorbed too much lava energy. Lin Jun narrowed his eyes and analyzed it according to his knowledge. This galactic beast has been here for 1,000 years, but because it hasn't been hatched by an adult beast, it can only rely on itself to hatch. In the past 1,000 years, only the lava of this volcano has been nourishing its eggs. It was born from a fire. According to the legend of the galactic beast, its first meal is to drink the blood of its mother. This is called inheritance. It can help it cultivate its ferocity in the future, and it can also inherit the power of its elders. However, it hasn't eaten yet and is seriously lacking in food and nutrition. Although there are some creatures that rely on fire to survive in this volcano, there are too few of them. That's why it evolved slowly. In my previous life, it only appeared after the extraterrestrial civilization took over Earth. It should be in its infancy now. If no one takes care of it, it can still survive, but its growth will be very slow. I wonder if I could try to feed it. As soon as Lin Jun had this idea, it couldn't help but grow crazily. Even though he had lived for so many years in his previous life, he had never thought that he would be able to own a galactic beast. Once a galactic beast matured, it would be a monster that could easily destroy an entire civilization. People would want to avoid it. So who would want to raise it? Lin Jun tried to get closer, but the galactic beast opened its eyes again and bared its teeth. It seemed to be very unhappy with Lin Jun. That's not right. This thing has just been born, so it shouldn't be aggressive. Why would it dislike me? After a few more attempts, Lin Jun found the crux of the problem. The liquid metal had a cold aura. This cold aura was used by Lin Jun to resist the heat. However, this galactic beast was born from the lava. Fire and cold aura were incompatible, so naturally, it would be unhappy with Lin Jun. He decisively removed the liquid metal and replaced it with a mental force shield. This time, the galactic beast really closed its eyes and rolled around a bit. Looking at this little thing's shriveled stomach, Lin Jun knew that it probably hadn't eaten yet. After hesitating for a bit, he took out a piece of crab meat from his ring and put it in front of the puppy's mouth. Galactic beasts are very intelligent, almost as intelligent as a human child. It should be able to sense good and evil, so it won't attack me. Lin Jun muttered in his heart as he got closer and closer. When Lin Jun put the crab meat in front of the puppy's mouth, the little thing suddenly opened its mouth and bit on Lin Jun's finger. A sharp pain came from his finger. Lin Jun didn't pull his finger back and let the puppy suck on it. First blood. Just like the legends, the galactic beast's first meal is blood. But will my blood be enough? Lin Jun was now an advanced level war god, so his blood was 100 times denser than a normal person. The puppy should be able to survive by sucking on a little. Since he had already reached this step, Lin Jun might as well just sit there and wait for the puppy to finish sucking his blood. But once it started sucking, it got a bit out of hand. The blood kept rushing out. The lightning energy, light energy, and traces of cold energy all entered the puppy's body along with the blood. The dark star kept revolving and replenished the energy that Lin Jun lost. Large amounts of blood also began to flow out, and waves of dizziness attacked him. Damn, this thing can eat too much. Lin Jun felt dizzy. He wanted to stop, but he didn't want to. If he stopped now, he probably wouldn't have another chance to tame this puppy. He could only force himself to endure. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Jun felt a wave of heat coming from the entrance of the cave. He knew that the volcano was about to erupt again. He raised his hand, and the liquid metal turned into a wall, completely sealing the entrance of the cave. The lava was rushing outside, and the temperature inside the cave was high enough to boil water. Lin Jun could only use cold energy to block it. Luckily, the puppy didn't reject Lin Jun's cold energy and used its 2 paws to suck on Lin Jun's finger. Bits of lightning, light, and cold energy continuously entered the puppy's body. Lin Jun's consciousness gradually became blurry. He could only vaguely see that the puppy's body would occasionally flash with lightning or faint light. The puppy was eating very comfortably. Its 4 paws held Lin Jun's finger and sucked on it. Occasionally, it would hum a few times, and its nose would spit out sulfur-smelling smoke with some sparks. Its saliva also entered Lin Jun's body through his wound. It made Lin Jun's finger feel numb and hot. Chapter 248. When Lin Jun woke up again, he felt weak all over. His head was dizzy and his eyes were blurry. This was a sign of excessive blood loss. So dizzy. Lin Jun sat up shakily and looked at the time. He found that more than a day had passed. Clang! Something fell down from the cave entrance. Lin Jun looked and found that the liquid metal that was originally blocking the cave entrance had fallen down and rolled to his side. This was too much metal. Lin Jun turned it into a circular wall to block the cave entrance. Thanks to it blocking the lava and heat wave, Lin Jun was able to survive in the cave. But how did it fall down? After putting away the liquid metal, Lin Jun was still in a daze. If the lava washed away the liquid metal, but it did not pour into the cave. With the lava pouring into the key, Lin Jun estimated that only his bones were left here. Where's the puppy? Lin Jun looked around, but did not see the puppy. Did it run away? It actually ran away after sucking so much of my blood? Lin Jun was very depressed. If it was a normal person, or even a weak war god in his current state of blood loss, he would have died. Even if he was full of blood, he was extremely weak at the moment. It would affect his battle strength. But the galactic beast actually ran away. It probably loosened the liquid metal when it ran out. Sigh, I'll just treat it as a waste of effort. I hope I can recover quickly. I still have to collect the cinnabar stones and tyrant stones. I can't stay in this state. Lin Jun tried to stand up. He wanted to leave this place. Otherwise, if the volcano erupts again, he might not be able to leave. Just as he walked to the cave entrance, the incredible heat wave came again. Lin Jun wanted to open his spirit barrier and prepare to leave. At this time, he suddenly saw the lava below surging. The puppy swam out as if it was swimming. Then, it jumped out in 3 steps. It actually stepped on the void and rushed out just like that. Furthermore, there was a strange, fiery red fish in the dog's mouth. The fish was 2 feet long and was much bigger than the dog, but it was already dead in the dog's mouth. The puppy ran to Lin Jun's cave in a few steps and then bumped into Lin Jun's arms. Lin Jun's body was so weak that he couldn't withstand the puppy's charge. The man and the beast fell into the depths of the cave. Io, what's going on? Lin Jun bumped into the meteorite wrapped around the eggshell and felt his whole body aching. However, the puppy was not affected at all. It licked Lin Jun's face with its warm tongue, causing his face to be wet. This guy recognized me as his master? Or is he treating me as his mother? Lin Jun looked at the puppy in his arms in disbelief. Its condition was obviously different from before. The golden fur on its body had become shiny, and the mane on its neck had turned from a faint red to a fiery red. Its 4 limbs also seemed to be more powerful, and when its eyes opened and closed, there seemed to be faint starlight floating about. When it opened its big mouth, its little baby teeth didn't seem to have grown. However, Lin Jun could tell from the dead red fish that its mouth was definitely powerful. A long tail was swinging behind it, but it didn't look like a dog's tail. Instead, it looked like a lion's tail. This is definitely not a dog. It just looks like a dog. Lin Jun quickly made a decision. This guy was lying in Lin Jun's arms. Its body was warm, and the swimming in the lava didn't affect it at all. As expected, it grew up surrounded by lava. It's not afraid of fire at all. Lin Jun tried his best to pick up the puppy and sized it up. The more he looked at it, the more he liked it. This was because he felt the power of lightning and light from the puppy. It was Lin Jun's inheritance. After the puppy licked Lin Jun's face twice, it jumped down and picked up the fish that had rolled to the side. It brought it into Lin Jun's arms. Could it be that you want me to eat it? Lin Jun couldn't help but ask. To his surprise, the puppy seemed to understand. It opened its mouth and made a biting motion. Then, it stuck out its tongue and looked at Lin Jun. Lin Jun picked up the fish. It was a little transparent, like it was made of jelly. He sniffed it and didn't smell anything fishy. If it was given by a galactic beast, it shouldn't be poisonous. Lin Jun's body was weak, so he took a bite. The fish melted in his mouth. Lin Jun suddenly felt a hot power rise from his dantian. It traveled through his limbs and helped his body recover a little from the blood loss. It really is a great tonic. I won't hold back. Lin Jun immediately started eating. The more he ate, the better it tasted. The power he had lost was slowly returning. The puppy didn't stay idle. It picked up the crab meat that Lin Jun had given it. The crab meat wasn't small. It was bigger than the puppy's body, but the puppy swallowed it in a few bites. After eating, the puppy wagged its tail at Lin Jun, as if it hadn't had enough. Lin Jun immediately took out a piece of crab meat that was over 50 kilograms and threw it in front of the puppy. The puppy jumped on it and ate at an incredible speed. The fish was about 5 kilograms. By the time Lin Jun finished it, the puppy had already finished the 50 kilograms of crab meat. This fellow can eat too much. Lin Jun looked at the glutton and silently closed his eyes. The power in his body was surging. He needed to regulate his breathing. While meditating in the cave, the puppy lay down beside Lin Jun's legs. It would occasionally turn its body and reveal its belly. It seemed to treat Lin Jun as its mother or master. While regulating his breathing, Lin Jun became more and more shocked. It wasn't that Snapper's power had replenished the blood he had lost. Instead, he realized that in his dantian, in the core of the Dark Star, there was a large amount of flaming lava. The Dark Star's original composition was composed of dark energy, dark matter, light, electricity, and cold air. It had never contained the power of fire. Now, however, a large amount of the power of fire had appeared. Moreover, the power of fire was hidden in the dark star's core in a magma-like form. It was as if a planet contained magma. Did I get this from Puppy? Linjin thought about it carefully. He felt that it was caused by the energy in the puppy's body when he used his blood to feed the puppy. When the puppy opened its eyes, the power of light and electricity would occasionally appear. Its body was also not unbearably hot. This was caused by absorbing Lin Jun's energy. The dark star in Lin Jun's body had also absorbed the puppy's power during the process, forming flaming lava. This dark star was gradually taking on the appearance of a real planet. The flames were in the depths of the planet, followed by the main body formed by the dark matter. The cold air was forced to retreat to the two ends. The power of light and electricity flowed everywhere. As it slowly circulated, it really did have the feel of a planet. Lin Jun was secretly delighted. This time, he had really profited from a disaster. Having the power of fire was very important to him. Lin Jun had always had a desire to forge an astral tool. Otherwise, he would not have studied astral tools for so long in his previous life. However, that required the power of fire as a foundation. He did not expect to obtain it so easily. After regulating his breathing for a while and absorbing all of Snapper's blood energy, Lin Jun felt that he had recovered to his original state. He was even better than before. You really are a little lucky star. Lin Jun hugged the golden red-maned Pekingese at his feet and pinched its nose. What's your name? The puppy's nostrils were not small, but they were very cute. After being pinched by Lin Jun, the puppy wriggled uncomfortably. Two strings of sparks shot out from its nostrils, carrying a faint smell of sulfur. There was even a little bit of electricity crackling. Little Red. The puppy seemed to know that Lin Jun was giving it a name. Some sparks shot out from its nose again, probably because it was dissatisfied. Little Gold. The smell of sulfur was a little stronger. The puppy even snorted twice. Lin Jun could even see a hint of disdain in its eyes. Your body is so warm. Let's call you Xiaowan. The puppy tilted its head and paused for a moment. Then, it stuck out its tongue and licked Lin Jun's palm. Okay, it's decided. Xiaowan, come with me and leave this place. Lin Jun's mind was preoccupied with the matters outside. When he first came in, there was only a week left before the duel. Now, more than a day had passed, and he still had to retrieve 2 stones. He could not delay any longer. Lin Jun walked in front. Xiaowan was like a little lion, following behind Lin Jun. As soon as they reached the mouth of the cave, the lava below suddenly surged up and was about to pour into the cave. Lin Jun hurriedly took out the liquid metal and was about to turn it into a wall to block the lava. Unexpectedly, Xiaowan jumped out and opened its big mouth, sucking in all the lava that had just poured into the cave. It even sucked down a large portion of the lava that was surging up the volcano. The lava that entered Xiaowan's mouth seemed to shrink rapidly. It turned into a small red lava ball and disappeared into its stomach. Natural devouring. This is the natural devouring ability of galactic beasts. Without astral power, it is impossible to resist this move. It can kill anyone below the star realm instantly. One abnormal ability. Lin Jun lamented the strength of galactic beasts. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he teleported 100 meters away and flapped his lightning wings. He rushed out of the mouth of the volcano in 2 seconds. He thought it would take a while for Xiaowan to come out, but when he turned around, he saw that Xiaowan was following him in the air. When she saw him, her body trembled and sparks flew from her body. You can actually keep up with my speed? Lin Jun looked at the thing that looked like a lion and a dog in disbelief. Roar! Xiaowan roared proudly. It sounded a little like a lion or tiger, but it also sounded a little childish. This was the first time Lin Jun heard Xiaowan roar. He really did not know what kind of galactic beast this was. Only then did the lava of the volcano behind him start gushing out. Lin Jun immediately flapped his lightning wings again and flew in the direction of Crane Lake. Chapter 249. Lin Jun knew that Xiaowan had sensed the threat of the rank S mutated poisonous scorpion in front of them. He immediately comforted Xiaowan to calm down. Rank S mutated beasts corresponded to Star Realm strength. Although mutated beasts of the same rank were not as strong as warriors, their strength was not weak either. Lin Jun did not want Xiao Nuan to take the risk. Although galactic beasts were born with Star Realm strength, and Xiao Nuan was equivalent to an rank S mutated beast, there was more than one poisonous scorpion at Crane Lake. Lin Jun also wanted to see if he could defeat an rank S mutated beast. Lin Jun told Xiao Nuan to stay where it was, and told it not to move. Xiao Nuan seemed to understand Lin Jun's meaning. It really did squat there and did not move. Its long tail swayed a few times. After throwing a big piece of crab meat to it, Lin Jun headed towards Crane Lake alone. Just as he approached, a poisonous scorpion rose from the lake and pounced towards Lin Jun at high speed. Lin Jun took out the broken jade spear and met it head-on without hesitation. Clang, clang, clang. After clashing with the poisonous scorpion's pincers a few times, Lin Jun's confidence increased greatly. His speed and strength could barely compete with the poisonous scorpion. It was not impossible for him to kill an rank S mutated beast with his various methods. At this moment, his condition was perfect. Lin Jun used all of his methods. This battle lasted for almost half an hour. Thunder kill. Lin Jun teleported away from the poisonous scorpion's tail and pierced its abdomen with his spear. The thunder kill destroyed its internal organs and came out from its back. The poisonous scorpion was heavily injured and wanted to escape. Lin Jun teleported again and arrived above its head. Once again, the thunder kill pierced through its head, completely killing this rank S mutated beast. Phew, it's so difficult. No wonder the War God stage uses killing an S-rank mutated beast as a benchmark to measure one's strength. I'm currently in the middle stage of the 7th grade War God stage, but I still need half an hour to kill a poisonous scorpion. This is the difficulty of fighting someone of a higher rank. After Lin Jun killed the scorpion, he took out its crystal. Just as he was thinking about what to do with the corpse, Xiao Nuan ran over and pounced on the scorpion's body to feast on it. Lin Jun had seen Xiao Nuan swallow a large amount of lava in one gulp, so he was already used to its astonishing appetite. However, he still felt that this fellow ate too much. The car-sized corpse of an S-class mutant beast was completely devoured in a matter of minutes. But this time, the little guy seemed to be really full. After eating, his eyelids drooped a little and he lay down to sleep. After all, it was still a newborn galactic beast, so it was easy for it to feel tired. After eating too much, it naturally wanted to sleep. Lin Jun hugged Xiao Nuan, not knowing what to do with it. The space inside the interspatial ring was an absolute vacuum, so no living things could be placed inside. Lin Jun had no choice but to put it on his back and use the liquid metal to make a temporary nest. Since it was only the size of a puppy, it was enough to fit in the middle of the lightning wings. After settling down the baby-like galactic beast, Lin Jun once again walked towards a Crane Lake. He already knew how to find the cinnabar stones in the Crane Lake. Although he could currently defeat S-class mutant beasts, there were too many of them, so he could only use the method of attracting them. Currently, the lightning wing speed was 3 times the speed of sound, which was enough to easily shake off the poisonous scorpions. Lin Jun felt that this method was feasible. When he was about to reach the lakeside, another 5 or 6 poisonous scorpions flew out. Lin Jun immediately flapped his lightning wings and flew across the lake. As Lin Jun flew past, countless poisonous scorpions rose from the lake and followed closely behind Lin Jun. Lin Jun did not panic. According to his plan, he flew back and forth above the lake in a zigzag pattern, attracting a large number of poisonous scorpions to fly up like locusts. However, Lin Jun's speed was now far superior to the poisonous scorpions. Although there were many poisonous scorpions, they still could not catch up with Lin Jun. Moreover, Lin Jun could teleport, so he could escape if he encountered an ambush. The poisonous scorpions behind him were like a black cloud. There were thousands of them, but they could not hurt Lin Jun at all. After flying above the lake for 5 minutes, Lin Jun saw that there were no more poisonous scorpions rising into the air. He quickly flew into the distance. He did not fly too fast, so that the poisonous scorpions could keep up with him. After flying for about a kilometer, he was about to leave the Crane Lake. If he went out of this distance, the poisonous scorpions would not continue to chase him. Lin Jun suddenly teleported. After teleporting, the lightning wings activated 3 times their original speed. In the blink of an eye, he flew a kilometer away and then teleported again. The poisonous scorpions suddenly lost their target and wandered in the air for a while before they began to return to the Crane Lake one after another. From the time Lin Jun disappeared to the time when the poisonous scorpions returned to the Crane Lake, it took about 4 or 5 minutes. During this time, Lin Jun had already explored about 1/10 of the area at the bottom of the Crane Lake with the speed of the lightning wings. When the poisonous scorpions returned, Lin Jun left the lake and began the second wave of poisonous scorpions. This time, Lin Jun's luck was not too bad. On the 5th time, he finally found a special meteorite at the bottom of the lake. Cinnabar stone. The cinnabar stone was completely red and had natural antibodies inside. After absorbing it, it was immune to poison. After Lin Jun obtained the stone, he immediately returned to the safety of the burning mountain and began to meditate and absorb it. About 3 hours later, Lin Jun had completely absorbed the cinnabar stone. After absorbing the cinnabar stone, there were no visible changes in his body. However, Lin Jun knew that there were some subtle changes in every cell of his body. There was an extra type of antibody inside. After the absorption was completed, Xiao Wan on his back was still sleeping soundly. Such a fierce battle did not affect its sleep at all. Lin Jun got up again and flew in the direction of the White Dragon Lake. Although he wanted to stay at the Crane Lake for a while and harvest some S-class poisonous scorpion crystals, the speed of killing the poisonous scorpions was too slow. Time was running out and he had to leave. After returning to the poisonous fog area, Lin Jun first wrapped himself in a spirit shield and entered the poisonous fog. Then, he tentatively stretched out a finger. There was no response. Lin Jun was overjoyed. Sure enough, this antibody could resist the invasion of the poison. This way, the poisonous fog would not affect him much. The only problem now was the white anaconda under the lake. However, this kind of quasi-S-class mutated beast was far less of a threat to Lin Jun than the poisonous scorpions. As long as Lin Jun did not go deep into the group of anacondas, there would not be a big problem. He entered the poisonous fog area and began to clear the riverbank. The anacondas came to attack Lin Jun one after another. Lin Jun could kill 2 anacondas almost every minute. This battle lasted for 4 hours. The number of white anacondas on the lake bank finally gradually decreased. Blood almost dyed the lake red. The white anacondas were not completely without intelligence. They began to gradually move away from this human who could easily kill them. Without the attack of the white anacondas, Lin Jun was finally able to smoothly enter the water after collecting hundreds of quasi-S-class crystals. About 3 hours later, Lin Jun floated out of the lake and returned to the burning mountain area. He had another meteorite in his hand, the Tyrant Stone. The Tyrant Stone was a black meteorite. It was not an ordinary black. It was not an ordinary black. It was pure black. It was as black as the endless night. On this stone, Lin Jun could not find any other color. Holding it in his hand, Lin Jun could feel the vitality and energy contained in it. It weighed more than 100 kilograms. Great. I've been tormented for so long, just for you. Only by absorbing the Tyrant Stone can my strength increase greatly. It will be my capital to compete for the War God Arena. Looking at the time, there were only 4 days until the semi-finals of the War God Arena began. Lin Jun immediately began to absorb the Tyrant Stone. First, he removed the Xiao Wan from his back and put it aside. Lin Jun took off his clothes and placed the Tyrant Stone in his lower abdomen. He silently operated the qi in his lower abdomen. The energy in the Tyrant Stone was immediately attracted by the qi in his lower abdomen and entered Lin Jun's body. This energy was so powerful that Lin Jun hurriedly mobilized the qi in his lower abdomen and began to guide this energy to his limbs and bones. Unlike the cinnabar stone, which was neither hot nor cold, the moment the energy of the Tyrant Stone entered Lin Jun's body, he felt pain. Ah! Lin Jun raised his head and let out a cry. His body was crying. Within his skin, every single cell was undergoing intense activity, becoming tougher and tougher. Within his blood, every drop of blood seemed to be boiling and becoming more vigorous. His muscles and veins were twisting and stretching. Under the powerful effect of the Tyrant Stone, they became tougher. Within his internal organs, every part of his body contained a stronger vitality at this moment. Even if Lin Jun did not advance to the Star Realm, it would not be a problem for him to live for 300 to 500 years just by relying on his body's functions. Within his bones, the bone marrow had become denser and denser, and the hematopoietic function had become stronger. Even when Lin Jun raised his head, his bones were issuing ka-bie sounds. That was the effect of the transformation. His eyesight was improving. Lin Jun could see the fragments of lava splashing from the burning mountain in the distance. His hearing had become more sensitive. Lin Jun could even hear the breathing of the anaconda in the White Dragon Lake. His sense of smell had also become clearer. Lin Jun could still smell the thick smell of blood in the distance, although it was already very faint. His sense of touch had also become more sensitive. Lin Jun could feel the wind blowing over. He could even feel the volcanic ash falling on his skin. Even his ability in that aspect was growing. Although he had not tested it yet, Lin Jun could easily feel it. This was because the Tyrant Stone strengthened all the functions of the human body. Apart from a chi in his lower abdomen and spiritual power, which were not strengthened by the Tyrant Stone's effect, all other aspects were strengthened. It's really powerful. Let grow, I can bear it. Although the transformation this time was incomparably painful, Lin Jun's willpower and the strength of his soul were so strong that there was no pain that could break him down.